Chapter 2470. Su Fang suddenly came to a realization. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, void to void. The heavenly secret life shrinking technique didn't just have the ability to deceive fate, seize the karma of another's fate, and obliterate the fate of another. Its ultimate ability was transcendence. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, void to void. It meant that the karma of fate between one's fate and the heavenly Tao had been severed. At the same time, it also meant that one had transcended the shackles and restraints of the heavenly Tao. The heavenly secret life shrinking technique is truly extraordinary. It's not even inferior to the 9 Suns' 9 transformations. Su Fang finally understood the ultimate ability of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique when he was close to death. He was extremely shocked, but at the same time, his confidence increased greatly because he had survived. In the past, he was about 90% confident that he would succeed. Now, he felt that he was at least 99% confident. All the mysterious Tao markings of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique flickered in his divine aperture. A miraculous power that could turn all fate back to dust and turn oneself into nothingness instantly spread out. The power that came from fate severed and shattered the karma of fate between the heavens, the earth, and the universe. At the same time, it also severed the shackles and restraints of the heavens, the earth, and the universe on Su Fang. Su Fang clearly existed in the formation, but one couldn't sense his existence. One could only see him with one's eyes. It was as if only an empty shell was left. The heavenly secret life shrinking technique severed Su Fang's fate, allowing his void and ethereal fate to transcend. Next, it was his divine body and origin spirit. Oh no, Su Fang is going to execute a divine ability to escape the 10 underworlds. Devil Saint Fu Sha and the other 2 Tao Defiants, who were charging towards the depths of the palace, noticed the changes in Su Fang's body. They thought that Su Fang was executing some supreme divine ability to escape, and their divine light instantly changed. Devil Saint Fu Sha activated his Devil Saber, while the other 2 Tao Defiants unleashed their most powerful attacks on the barrier around Su Fang at the same time. Hiss! Boom! 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 The Devil Saber light slashed down on the barrier with a force that could annihilate all things in the world. The power of the 2 Tao Defiance worlds madly bombarded the barrier. The palace shook violently while the high platform beneath Su Fang and the barrier in the surroundings shattered layer by layer beneath the ferocious attacks of the 3 Tao Defiant. However, the powerful might of the Heaven Supervisor token kept the barrier from collapsing. Within the barrier, Su Fang looked at the 3 emperors from the Tao Defiance alliance with a mocking gaze and sneered domineeringly. Following that, a power that could reverse life and death surged out from his body. It turned out that he was using the mental cultivation method that he had derived from the world descending life reversal scripture. He was going to make everything in his body disappear. The most important thing was still the 4 symbols transformation. One of his Yang spirits sat cross-legged in the middle of the Hunyuan sacred mirror and used the 4 symbols mudra to activate the mirror. At this moment, Shu Wanzhen's eyes appeared along with the black mirror. She stared at Su Fang and said in a cold voice, "Su Fang, take care. I will wait for your return." Su Fang's Yang spirit chuckled. "Don't worry, senior sister. It won't be long before I'll be able to come back from the dead. At that time, I'll transcend the shackles of the world and become an over-god." As soon as he finished speaking, the might of the Hunyuan sacred mirror erupted and swept out from within Su Fang's body. There was a gratified expression in Shu Wanzhen's eyes as she muttered to herself, "It's been 300,000 years. That little brat from back then is about to transcend the world now. It's truly inconceivable." Then, there was a worried expression in her eyes. "I hope he can come back to life safely. It'll be best if nothing goes wrong." At this moment, the outer barrier finally collapsed under the frenzied attacks of Demon Saint Fu Sha and the 2 Tao Defiants. The Heaven Supervisor token was sent flying by the impact of the barrier's collapse. Su Fong die. A phantom of divine might shot out from Demon Saint Fu Sha's eyes. As soon as it appeared, it transformed into an enormous devil palm that was 1,000 feet long. It carried a terrifying might that could overturn the world as it slapped down towards Su Fong. Under the enormous devil palm, Su Fong looked like a tiny ant. He was about to be smashed into powder by Demon Saint Fu Sha's palm. Unexpectedly, a terrifying might of the evolution of the heavenly Tao's yin and yang surged out from Su Fong's body. It caused the world and the universe to return to its origin under this supreme might and turn into nothingness. Qi. This might swept out towards the surroundings, and everything in the surroundings was quickly destroyed. Demon Saint Fu Sha hastily fled in shock. There was another human Tao-defiant emperor who was caught off guard and was swept up by the divine might. The defense of an emperor expert was like paper under this supreme might. His divine body quickly disintegrated, and he was so frightened that he had no choice but to self-destruct. His yang spirit was lucky enough to escape. Qi. At the same time, Su Fong's physical body was also rapidly disintegrated under the might of the Origin Sacred Mirror. The aura of life heading towards death enveloped Su Fong. QL11, however, a domineering and aloof smile appeared on his face. He looked disdainfully at Demon Saint Fu Sha and the other two Tao-defiant emperors as if he was looking at three ants. The Universe River Chariot, the prison-suppressing Codex, the ancestral Devil Blood Plate, and other magic treasures flew out from his body and circled around him. These magic treasures were all Su Fong's worldly possessions. Su Fong couldn't take them with him to transcend. However, the Origin Sacred Mirror and the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda were still in his body. Sooner or later, I will take back everything that belongs to Su Fong. Su Fong smiled domineeringly. His divine body disintegrated faster and faster, and it swiftly transformed into the quintessence of life. After that, it swiftly disintegrated and transformed into the most primitive chaotic qi. In the end, it completely transformed into nothingness, and it was impossible to sense Su Fong's aura any longer. The Origin Sacred Mirror appeared, and the red and black yin-yang fishes swam swiftly on its surface. The surface of the mirror was no longer material, and it transformed into the phenomena of the four symbols of the Heaven Tao. In the end, it vanished into nothingness along with Su Fong. Is Su Fong dead or has he fled? This scene flabbergasted the three Tao-defiant Alliance's emperors, and their eyes were filled with shock and surprise. Devilish light shot out from Demon Saint Fu Sha's eyes, and the phenomena of the Heaven Tao and the deduction of the workings of the heavens were ceaselessly changing within his eyes. Su Fong's aura of life has completely vanished. He is indeed dead. Demon Saint Fu Sha erupted with complacent and wild laughter, and then he strode over to where Su Fong had vanished. With a wave of his hand, he sucked the Universe Chariot, Ancestral Fiend Blood Plate, Hell Suppression Codex, Heaven Supervisor Token, and various other magic treasures into his body. Lord Demon Saint, the three of us joined forces to kill Su Fong, yet you took all his magic treasures. Isn't that a little too much? Exactly. Lord Demon Saint, you should at least leave us some leftovers, right? One of the other two Tao-defiant emperors only had his yang soul left, and he was extremely jealous of the magic treasures Su Fong left behind. So, his gaze towards Demon Saint Fu Sha was filled with madness and displeasure. Demon Saint Fu Sha shouted domineeringly, "How presumptuous! Su Fong's treasures must be handed over to the Alliance Master to deal with personally. Moreover, even though we killed Su Fong this time, we weren't able to obtain the Origin Sacred Mirror. So, our pursuit of Su Fong is only half successful. Are all of you still vainly coveting Su Fong's treasures?" The other two Tao-defiant emperors could only give up resentfully. Outside the palace, Shroud's clone was in a life-and-death battle with the Alliance Master when they suddenly stopped attacking and looked towards the palace. "Su Fong has perished. Good. Good, good. The Alliance Master cheered repeatedly, and he seemed to be extremely excited. Shroud's clone gazed at the palace while his lips wriggled, and he spoke in a voice that others couldn't hear. Kid, that's all I can help you with. You'll have to rely on yourself to come back to life. It turned out that Shroud's clone had separated a strand of his soul core to reside within it before Shroud had left for the ocean of the Tao, and it had always been protecting Su Fang from the shadows. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Shroud's clone to suddenly possess such formidable strength in the 10 underworlds. Shroud was an existence that had transcended the heavens and the earth, so all of Su Fang's plans couldn't escape his soul core. At this moment, Su Fang had taken the first step on the path of transcendence, so Shroud's clone had completed his mission. He gazed at the place where Su Fang had perished with anticipation, and then his clone swiftly transformed into nothingness and vanished from the 10 underworlds. The Alliance Master took a step forward and appeared within the palace. When he heard Devil Saint Fu Sha, the Alliance Master's tightly shut eyes suddenly opened, and then a wisp of fierce and sharp light swept through the spot where Su Fang had vanished. Hiss! Space shattered into pieces while the laws and energy collapsed before the Alliance Master's fierce gaze. The Alliance Master was still unwilling to stop. His extremely deep eyes flickered incessantly with sharp divine light, and he seemed to be deducing something. After a long time, the Alliance Master's aura had become much weaker. Obviously, he'd exhausted a huge amount of strength to deduce Su Fang's fate. The Alliance Master was puzzled. Logically speaking, Su Fang is definitely dead. But why do I still feel slightly uneasy? Devil Saint Fu Sha spoke with a trembling voice. Alliance Master, you're worried about the Chaos Divine Mirror, right? Even though the Chaos Divine Mirror has mysteriously vanished, Su Fang is dead now. So, even if the Chaos Divine Mirror falls into the hands of human cultivators, it would be impossible to find someone who can utilize it to enter Exalted Celestial Mountain. So, you don't have to be worried about that. Perhaps. The leader of the Tao Defiance nodded. He pondered for a short moment before he shouted in a dignified manner towards the uninjured human Tao Defiant. You. Stay here and don't leave for even a moment. Even though the Tao Defiant was extremely unwilling, he had no choice but to answer with a trembling voice. Yes. Next, it's time to carry out the plan that we've prepared a long time ago. We'll break through the sky barrier in one go and destroy the Skybeacon Divine World. The Alliance Master revealed a lofty and domineering aura as he led the 2 Tao Defiant Emperors out of the palace. Yuan Tiangong. The Saint Palace that floated at the deepest depths of Yuan Tiangong. Su Yaotian was cultivating cross-legged at a certain spot within the River of Time, within the Palace of Spring and Autumn. Father! One of Su Fang's clones flew in slowly. Just like before, Su Fang would pay a visit to his father once every 100 years. Su Yaotian gazed at Su Fang's clone with a gratified gaze. Fang your main body went to the 2 realms battlefield. Did you receive any news? My main body went to the 2 realms battlefield to search for a critical factor to break through. If it wasn't something major, then I wouldn't. Chapter 2471. This is Su Yaotian looked at the place where Su Fang's doppelganger had disappeared. He couldn't sense the slightest trace of Su Fang's aura, and his divine light instantly changed. His body trembled uncontrollably. Whoosh, whoosh. Xian Yintian, Xian Lingzi, and Xu Yunkong, who were cultivating in a formation not far away, sensed the commotion and quickly came through the formation. What is it? Seeing Su Yaotian's expression, the 3 of them realized that something was wrong and their hearts sank. Su Yaotian said with a trembling voice, Fang's original body. I'm afraid something has happened to her. The only possibility for the doppelganger to suddenly die for no reason was that the original body had already fallen. Moreover, it wasn't just the physical body and soul that had perished. Instead, Someone had used a supreme ability to erase all of his existence in the universe, causing his clone to perish along with him. This is impossible. Although the battlefield of the Two Realms River is extremely dangerous, can it be more dangerous than the divine prison of heaven's law? That's right. I heard that not even a Nirvana-level expert could change the danger. Everyone thought that he had already lost his life, but in the end, Su Fang successfully resolved the crisis and returned safely. No matter what dangers he encounters in the two boundary rivers, he will be able to overcome them. Xian Yintian, Xian Lingzi, and Shu Yunkong forced smiles and comforted Su Yaotian. That's right. Fang will definitely return safe and sound. Su Yaotian forced a smile, but before he could finish speaking, he opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, his body swayed and he fainted. Clang! Clang! The solemn yet stirring ringing of the bell reverberated through Yuan Tiangong, spreading to every corner. Hearing the sound of the bell, people didn't feel anything was wrong at first. Who would have thought that the bell would ring a total of 108 times? Everyone who heard the bell had a great change in expression. The world-shocking bell suddenly rang. What happened? Only when Yuan Tiangong is in danger of annihilation, or when a peerless figure of great importance has fallen, will the bell ring 108 times. Could it be that the Tao Defiants are attacking Yuan Tiangong? Perhaps something has happened in the Sky Beacon God world. Could the Tao Defiants have breached the sky curtain? Deities, including the peerless master deities and supreme venerables who rarely showed themselves, appeared one after another. They looked toward the depths of Yuan Tiangong, where the bell sound came from. Without waiting for the bell to fall, a voice filled with panic came from the depths of the Yuan Tiangong. Su Fang's natal lamp in the Yuan Tiangong has been extinguished. Su Fang has fallen. In an instant, the entire primordious heavenly palace fell into a deathly silence. The so-called natal life lantern was the life lantern formed by the powerful and important people in Yuan Tiangong. It was left in the Yuan Tiangong to prevent any accident. Within primordious heavenly palace, those supreme empyreans as well as important sovereign powerhouses all had their own life origin lamp. Su Fang was the only person who could enter the exalted celestial mountain, and he was responsible for the safety of the universe. Naturally, he had left his natal life lantern in the Yuan Tiangong before heading to the battlefield of the Two Realms River. The extinguishing of his natal life lantern meant that Su Fang had fallen. Su Fang's importance to the Yuan Tiangong was self-evident. His sudden death was like the collapse of the sky, and the consequences were much more severe than the Tao Defiance attack or the Sky Beacon God world's destruction in the Yuan Tiangong. It wasn't just the ordinary deities and geniuses in the Yuan Tiangong. Even the peerless master deities and supreme venerables felt like the world was falling apart when they heard the news, and their faces turned ghastly pale. Suddenly, the majestic voice of the imperial people's supreme existence suddenly rang out. Su Fang is currently in seclusion in the Saint Temple, trying to break through to the Overgod realm. How could he have fallen for no reason? Then, the figure of the imperial people's supreme existence appeared in the sky above the Yuan Tiangong. His white robes fluttered, and he emanated the aura of a supreme ruler. He was like the embodiment of the heavenly Tao, and everyone looked up to him. How dare you deliberately spread lies to mislead the masses and attempt to disturb Su Fang's cultivation, interfere with his Tao heart, and confuse the Yuan Tiangong? Such actions are equivalent to defying the Tao, and they deserve death. The imperial people's supreme existence reached out and grabbed at the air, and an old man was pulled over. QL11 This old man was a peerless expert who was only one step away from the sovereign realm. He was in charge of guarding his natal life lantern. At this moment, he was like a weak chicken under the majesty of the imperial people's supreme existence. A fierce light shot out from the eyes of the imperial people's supreme existence. With a single thought, The old man's divine body and yang spirit shattered and turned into ashes before he could even scream. If there's nothing else, you can all disperse. The imperial people's supreme existence waved his hand casually, and then disappeared into nothingness. Only then did the panic subside. However, those sovereign realm experts, as well as those who were quite scheming, were still suspicious, but no one dared to say anything. In the deepest part of the universe, there was an extraterrestrial spacetime hidden in the chaos, as if it was an otherworldly space that was beyond heaven and earth. Inside the spacetime, there was a valley with a gurgling stream, and birds were singing and flowers were fragrant. An old man in plain clothes was fishing by the stream. The old man was motionless, as if he had been sitting like a rock since ancient times. The old man suddenly raised his eyebrows and said, "What's the matter?" A shadow of a primordial spirit quickly condensed in front of him. It was the supreme existence of the imperial people. He cupped his fists and bowed to the old man. Su Fang's natal life lantern has been extinguished. He most likely died in the 9 serenities. The old man was silent for a while and then said slowly, "I understand." The supreme existence of the imperial people was stunned, and then asked anxiously, "Sir, Su Fang's death means that there is no hope of entering the celestial worthy mountain, and the universe will fall into chaos again. What should we do next?" The mountain guardian said indifferently, "It's fine. I understand." The shadow of the supreme existence of the imperial people saw that the mountain guardian was so calm, and did not say anything more. When he bowed to the mountain guardian, the shadow of the supreme existence of the imperial people immediately disappeared. Whether Su Fang dies or rebuilds after destruction, it's all up to you, the mountain guardian murmured and slowly closed his eyes. Unexpectedly, the next moment, he suddenly opened his eyes and looked into the depths of the valley, chuckling, "Su Fang just died? It's hard to say whether he can be reborn, but his Taoist companion has successfully died? Could it be the will of the heavens? Interesting." As soon as he finished speaking, a clear and cold cry sounded from the depths of the valley, and then a cold and holy aura rose against the heavens, instantly engulfing the entire space. Then, the aura condensed and turned into a huge shadow of an ice phoenix, floating proudly in the air, like a supreme king overlooking all living beings. Bang! The shadow of the ice phoenix flew into the valley, and disappeared without a trace along with the cold and holy aura. A moment later, a woman in white walked out of the valley and came to the side of the stream. This woman was the one who took the nirvana? After taking the pill, she successfully died? The reborn Xuanxin. At this moment, Xuanxin's aura had become illusory, and his entire body was exuding a cold and holy aura, as if he did not belong to this world. With the help of the blood essence of the Divine Phoenix and Ice Phoenix of the Divine Phoenix Ancient Clan, Xuanxin had also obtained a great creation. After being reborn, his cultivation level had reached the peak of the 9th heaven of the Tao integration stage. Such a cultivation level might not be much compared to those lords and sovereigns, but Xuanxin had only cultivated for less than 1,000,000 years. Such a speed of improvement could be considered shocking in the entire universe. Xuanxin knelt down to salute the mountain guardian. "Thank you for your help, Senior." The mountain guardian did not look back. He nodded and said, "Something has happened in the universe. Go, Su Fang's family may need you." Su Fang? Xuanxin's cold eyes softened, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Then, he realized something and hurriedly asked, "What happened to Su Fang?" The mountain guardian said slowly, "For him, it's a great creation, but also a great danger." Xuanxin's heart calmed down a lot. "Go," the mountain guardian waved his hand. After thinking for a while, he said, "If you have some free time, come and accompany this old man." "Haha, it's very boring for this old man to stay here alone. A long time ago, I had a granddaughter to accompany me. Unfortunately, when I see you, I think of my granddaughter." Xuanxin was stunned. Then, a look of surprise appeared in his eyes. "Yes, Senior. The mountain guardian pointed forward. The space rippled like the surface of a lake and quickly condensed into a door. Xuanxin stepped into the door and disappeared. Sky Beacon Realm. A figure flew out from the depths of a group of buildings and into the sky. It was a black-robed woman with long hair. It was Goddess Luo. Looking at the other side of the sky, Goddess Luo's face was pale, and her eyes were filled with pain. What happened? Why do I feel like the most important thing in my life has left me? Two-Realm River Battlefield. Just like before, killing was happening all the time, and it was even crazier than before. Death was happening every moment. Suddenly, I am the leader of the Tao Defiance Alliance. A cold and indifferent voice resounded from the horizon. The voice swiftly spread through every single corner of the battlefield, and it reached the ears of every single cultivator, big goblin, and Tao Defiance. After that, it passed through the sky and entered Sky Beacon Realm. Human cultivators, Su Fang, whom you placed your greatest hope in, has been killed by the experts of the Tao Defiance Alliance, and the Chaos Divine Mirror has fallen into my hands as well. All of your hopes have been extinguished, so why aren't you surrendering right now? Regardless of whether you're a human cultivator or a big goblin, I promise that I won't kill anyone who surrenders to the Tao Defiance Alliance, and I'll even grant all of you eternal life. Once the supreme evil god dominates the Heaven Tao, all of you will become world lords, region lords, and even supreme divine lords. The leader of the Tao Defiance Alliance's voice was still reverberating when waves of clamorous exclamations instantly erupted from the battlefield and Sky Beacon Realm. Su Fang was in closed-door cultivation in the Yuan Tiangong. How could he have been killed by the Tao Defiance? The Tao Defiance are trying to shake the morale of the human cultivators. Such a clumsy trick is truly laughable to the extreme. He'll grant us eternal life? What high-sounding sentiments! Could it be that he wants all of us to become corpses that have been revived? Waves of furious curses and ridicule resounded from Sky Beacon Realm. However, the 5 emperors who resided in Sky Beacon Realm had fallen into silence. With their strength and status, it was naturally impossible for anything that happened in the Yuan Tiangong to escape their notice. Moreover, the leader of the Tao Defiance Alliance would absolutely not tell such a blatant lie for no reason and cause others to laugh at him. On the other hand, cheers erupted from the battlefield and the areas under the Tao Defiance Alliance's control. It seemed like the day when the Tao Defiance Alliance dominated the universe was right before their eyes. Chapter 2472. Su Fang's Divine Body Separation, Primordial Spirit, Divine Aperture, Heaven and Earth Tao Palace, Origin Sacred Mirror, Natal Dharma Treasure Xian Wang's 6 Paths Pagoda, and the Jianmu tree in his body were all turned into nothingness. At this moment, Su Fang not only cut off his karma with heaven and earth, but he also abandoned everything that grew up in the heaven and earth universe. His consciousness was not completely destroyed. Under the supreme power of the 4 appearances transformation, he maintained a strand of divine consciousness, which merged with the origin sacred mirror that had turned into nothingness. Not only the origin sacred mirror, but there were also 2 mysterious lights blooming in his divine consciousness. One was a mysterious purple light. It was none other than the purple Chi Dharma spirit that had fused into one with him, bringing him unparalleled luck at all times. The other was a faint golden Buddhist light, which was the Paramitha Buddha Sarira that Ksitigarbha Buddha had given him. The moment Su Fang's divine aperture collapsed, the Paramitha Buddha Sarira merged with his remaining divine consciousness, allowing him to transcend life and death. Whoosh! Su Fang felt that he had become a weightless feather. The heaven and earth universe had lost its shackles and restraints, and he was fluttering uncontrollably. Unrestrained, free and unrestrained. The heaven and earth were vast, and he was free to roam. After an unknown period of time, Su Fang felt that he had broken through a layer of shackles. In an instant, Su Fang felt like he was a frog at the bottom of a well, who had suddenly climbed out of the well and saw the vast world outside. What he saw was the boundless, chaotic void. It was cold, dark, and boundless. Su Fang felt a sense of freedom and freedom. This feeling was really wonderful, and it made Su Fang extremely happy. He could not help but want to shout out loud, but unfortunately, he could not make any sound at this moment. No wonder the Golden Rainbow King still could not forget to see the scenery outside the heaven, even when he was only left with a world spirit. What people yearned for the most was not the scenery, but the feeling of freedom, and oneself. This was the peak of cultivation that all cultivators pursued. Transcendence. This is transcendence from heaven and earth. Su Fang's divine consciousness continued to roam the vast heaven with shock and joy. The chaotic void beyond the heavens was no longer a void. Su Fang's divine consciousness saw the substance floating in the chaos. It was huge and boundless, forming a universe of its own. He also saw a vast galaxy of stars converging. It looked like a galaxy, but when Xiao Chen's spiritual sense swept across it, he discovered that the so-called galaxy was actually formed by monsters. Each galaxy was an independent universe. Su Fang's spiritual sense also passed through some extremely dangerous places. When it passed by a giant whirlpool surrounded by nebulas, it was almost swallowed by the whirlpool. When he passed by an area filled with golden thunder and lightning, his divine sense was almost destroyed by the terrifying power of the thunder and lightning. Another time, when Su Fang was passing through a green sea in the chaotic void, a huge vine shot out at an astonishing speed and almost entangled his divine sense. But every time, he was scared but not in danger. This was attributed to the supreme luck bestowed by the purple Chi Dharma spirit and the protective power of the Origin sacred mirror, which had turned into a state of nothingness. His divine sense traversed the endless void. After an unknown period of time, Su Fang's consciousness gradually became blurred. Su Fang was horrified to find that he was like a rootless duckweed. His divine sense was uncontrollably floating aimlessly in the chaos beyond the heavens. Sooner or later, one day, he would either be swallowed by the dangers he encountered, or he would exhaust everything and disappear in the endless chaos. The reason for this was because Su Fang's cultivation had not reached a level beyond heaven and earth. Although he had cut off everything from the heaven and earth universe, it was difficult for him to return to the heaven and earth universe. What should I do? Am I going to die like this in the endless chaos beyond the heavens? Su Fang was extremely anxious, but there was nothing he could do. He could only go with the flow and let his divine sense weaken day by day. He did not know how much time had passed. Suddenly, a powerful divine sense that was far beyond Su Fang's understanding swept past not far from Su Fang's divine sense. That divine sense quickly condensed into a lifelike giant. The giant was hundreds of feet tall. It was somewhat similar to the golden giant that Su Fang transformed into when he used the giant transformation of Vajra. Its entire body was emitting a dazzling golden light, as well as a terrifying divine power that surpassed any expert that Su Fang had ever seen. Su Fang felt that he was like an ant in a small world at this moment, and that giant was an immortal from the immortal world. The giant's gaze could shatter his divine sense and make it disappear forever. Such a tiny divine sense dares to wander in the chaos, and it has the protection of an extraordinary magic treasure. And that purple chi and Buddhist light. Interesting. The giant sized up Su Fang's divine sense with great interest. Under the invisible divine power, Su Fang was shackled to the point that he could not move at all. He trembled and was about to completely shatter at any time. Although you are so weak, no matter how small a mosquito is, it is still meat. If I devour you, it will be more or less beneficial to me. That magic treasure is not bad, and it can be sold for a good price. The giant laughed sinisterly. Mosquito meat. Su Fang's divine sense felt helpless and sorrowful. At this moment, in the giant's eyes, he had become an insignificant mosquito. Only then did he realize that no matter where he was, whether he was in the universe or in the outer world, there was always a principle that followed, the law of the jungle. He was a frog at the bottom of a well. After climbing out of the well with great difficulty and seeing the scenery outside the well, he was about to be devoured by the dangers outside the well. However, Su Fang had no regret. To be able to see the scenery of the outer world, he could die with no regret. Little mosquito, I am divine Lord Jin Wu. It is your supreme fortune to be devoured by me. Following that, the giant waved his hand and rolled out a golden light, sucking Su Fang's divine sense into it. Su Fang could not resist at all. Like a weak chicken, he could only watch helplessly as the giant shackled him. Boom! 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 Just as he was about to be devoured by the giant, the illusory origin sacred mirror suddenly appeared with 9 divine suns, bursting out with brilliant light like the divine suns. The golden light shackling Su Fang shattered, and the giant let out a cry of pain. His golden figure became a little more illusory. The 9 divine suns formed by the origin sacred mirror shrouded Su Fang's divine sense. Just as he was about to escape, the giant let out a furious roar. Little ant, how dare you bite me? I will turn you into ashes. Then, the giant opened his mouth and sucked. Su Fang and the 9 divine suns formed by the origin sacred mirror flew into the giant's mouth. From the chaotic void, a majestic and old voice suddenly sounded. Jin Wu, this person has some karma with me. You can't touch him. The giant's figure suddenly stiffened, and his action of devouring Su Fang also stopped. Clearly, he was very afraid of the owner of the voice. After hesitating for a moment, the giant named Jin Wu snorted coldly. The golden light dissipated, and he disappeared without a trace. Only then did Su Fang break free from his shackles. The 9 divine suns formed by the origin sacred mirror also turned into nothingness. After being tormented by the giant, Su Fang's divine sense became even weaker, and it was about to collapse at any time. From the void, a pair of eyes condensed. They were incomparably deep, as if they contained a part of the universe. The part of the world you came from is somewhat related to me. This time, I happened to meet you when I was wandering in the chaotic void, so I saved you. Since you met me, it is also your destiny and creation. I will give you an opportunity. A divine light flashed from the pair of eyes and turned into a mysterious rune. It landed in Su Fang's divine sense and merged with Su Fang's divine sense. At that moment, Su Fang felt his divine sense rapidly become stronger, making him feel as if it was expanding and exploding. When the divine light rune completely merged with his divine sense, Su Fang felt that his divine sense was more than 10 times stronger than when it had just transcended. What kind of powerful existence is this? He's countless times stronger than Hades. I reckon that even the heavenly venerate of creation is inferior to him. As expected, there's always someone better than you. Su Fang's divine sense was extremely shocked. At the same time, he was extremely puzzled, and he felt like he was at a loss. Go. Come to the Jiuxuan God domain to look for me when your main body truly possesses the ability to roam the chaotic void. A divine light shot out from the pair of eyes, and it enveloped Su Fang's divine sense. Su Fang felt the world spin, and he instantly traversed through endless space. When his consciousness returned to normal, he was shocked to discover that he'd actually returned to the 10 underworlds, and he was in the palace that Hades had once resided in. Since he'd severed the karma of fate, executed the 4 symbols transformation, destroyed his divine body, destroyed the Tao palace of heaven and earth, and then transcended the chaotic void, it felt like everything had happened in an instant. It also felt like countless epochs had passed, and it felt like a dream. QL11 within the palace. A human cultivator sat cross-legged on the icy cold ground. He was the Emperor Realm expert that the Tao Defiance Alliance Master had left behind in the palace before he left. The Tao Defiance Alliance only had 8 Emperor Realm experts left, and he was the weakest amongst them all. That was why the Tao Defiance Alliance Master had left him behind to guard the palace. The Alliance Master is being a little too careful. Su Fang is clearly dead, yet he still wants me to stay in this coffin-like palace. 10,000 years have already passed. Could that Su Fang be able to come back to life like us Tao Defiance? I lay in the coffin for a few epochs, and I was lucky enough to come back to life. Moreover, I was able to go against the Tao Defiance and obtain life. I don't want to stay in a coffin for the rest of my life. The Tao Defiance Alliance has probably started to attack the Sky Beacon God domain with all their might. With the Tao Defiance help and Su Fang's death causing the will of the human cultivators to collapse, the Tao Defiance Alliance will definitely break through the sky curtain. Unfortunately, I can't participate. Otherwise, I would be able to seize the opportunity to wantonly devour human cultivators. The Emperor Realm expert felt indignant. But he thought about it for a moment. But the Alliance Master is still fair in his rewards and punishments. He's lent me the Universe Chariot for 1,000,000 years. I'll be able to surpass the other emperors sooner or later with this supreme temporal magic treasure. The Emperor Realm expert finally felt much better when he thought up to this point. Su Fang, you're already dead, yet you still want me to guard this coffin. Chapter 2473. At the place where Su Fang had perished, an expanse of chaotic Xian Guang had surged out from the void, and it was like a chaotic space outside the outerium had suddenly appeared there. The Xian Guang didn't seem to have any color, yet it seemed to contain all the colors in the world. As the Xian Guang surged, a strand of supreme might formed from the heaven Tao was brewing within it. Moreover, this expanse of chaos even contained the chaotic energy of the universe from before the heavens and the earth had been split apart, and it shocked the Tao Defiant Emperor. What the hell is that? The Tao Defiant Emperor was one of the strongest existences in the universe at any rate, and he'd even died once. So, he was quite shocked by this sudden scene. After that, the chaotic Xian Guang split into 2, and it was red and black. At this moment, the Tao Defiant Emperor realized that something major had occurred, and a bang resounded in his mind. Could it be Su Fang? A layer of coldness instantly seeped out from the Tao Defiant Emperor when he realized this, and his first thought was to try and contact the Tao Defiant Alliance's leader. However, the Ten Hell was an independent and transcendent space, and it was completely isolated from the outside world. So, it was impossible to contact the outside world even if one possessed a peerless treasure that was specially used to transmit divine sense. Could it be that Su Fang has cultivated the world descent life reversal scripture given to him by the supreme evil god, and that's why he's able to reverse life and death? Su Fang killed Tianhua, and Tianhua just happened to be given the world descent life reversal scripture. So Su Fang naturally obtained this supreme Tao Defiant cultivation technique. But how did he grasp the world descent life reversal scripture in such a short period of time? Even if he's cultivated the world descent life reversal scripture and is able to reverse life and death, how could he have possibly deceived the Alliance Master? The Tao Defiant Emperor was puzzled. In a short period of time, a shocking change had occurred to the red and black Xian Guang. The red and black area split apart into 4. There was black within the red and red within the black, and the aura of the 4 symbols of the heaven Tao effused out from within it. After that, a transcendent universe swiftly transformed into form there. That's clearly the inner world of a human Emperor Realm Master. It was said that Su Fang cultivated the supreme heavenly Tao and had already cultivated an inner world at the Tao integration stage. That must be Su Fang. He actually reversed life and death and came back to life. The Tao Defiant Emperors were extremely shocked. However, in the next moment, he was pleasantly surprised. If I'm able to suppress Su Fang, then I'll have made an extraordinary contribution to the Tao Defiance Alliance. Maybe the Alliance Master will be happy and directly bestow the Infinity Wheel to me. I might even be able to obtain even greater benefits. I might even be valued highly by the Supreme Evil God. Su Fang, it's your bad luck to have met me. You'll be helping this Emperor achieve his peerless merit. The Exalt Emperor's eyes flickered with a red glow of excitement as he pounced over. Boom! The Exalt Emperor formed seals with his hands, and then a strand of the aura of the Wood Grand Tao rumbled as it erupted and enveloped the universe that hadn't been formed yet. The Wood Element Divine Might executed by the Tao-defiant Emperor was completely different from the divine might executed by any cultivator of the Grand Tao of Wood throughout the universe. It was the divine might executed by the Tao Defiance who'd gone against the Heaven Tao and utilized the Supreme Evil God's Heaven Tao. Even though its quintessence still belonged to this universe, it had undergone a qualitative change. Exalt Emperors mainly cultivated their inner worlds, so the divine abilities they executed didn't have to rely on the essence and energy of nature anymore. They completely came from the worlds within their bodies. As soon as the divine might of the Tao-defiant Emperor appeared, it instantly transformed into a world that was filled with green, and it was filled with powerful Wood Grand Tao energy and vitality. However, the World Grand Tao energy contained an extremely evil energy that could devour the vitality of all living beings. Green light surged from below, and it instantly transformed into a green ocean. Numerous thick vines that were covered in sharp and poisonous spikes shot madly towards Su Fang's world that hadn't been formed yet. Swoosh! Swoosh! QL11 The vines swiftly enveloped Su Fang's world, and they interweaved together to cover it layer by layer. They wriggled madly and drilled into Su Fang's world to wantonly devour his energy. The Tao-defiant Emperor sneered savagely, "So what if you've come back to life? You'll still become my cultivation material in the end, won't you?" Unexpectedly, a supreme might of the Four Symbols transformation suddenly erupted at this moment, and it drilled into Su Fang's world. The countless vines swiftly shattered under this might, and they transformed into pure Wood Grand Tao energy before continuing to decompose. In the end, they transformed into connate chaotic chi that fused into Su Fang's world. Immediately after that, a terrifying might swept out. This might came from Su Fang using the Four Symbols transformation to activate the Origin Sacred Mirror. It was a supreme heavenly might that ultimately reshaped the universe, and even Exalt Emperors couldn't reverse it. The Tao-defiant Emperor's world collapsed layer by layer under the might of the Origin Sacred Mirror. The vines that filled the world rapidly shattered as they struggled madly, and the surging green ocean below seemed to evaporate as it rapidly shrank. It was all mercilessly swept into Su Fang's world by the Origin Sacred Mirror. Damn it, it's the Origin Sacred Mirror. How could I have forgotten about it? Only then did the Tao-defiant Emperor realize that the situation wasn't good, and he was terrified. He hurriedly cut off the divine might and tried to flee. But it was too late. The divine might of the Origin Sacred Mirror instantly enveloped him, and the terrifying might of the Four Symbols transformation quickly disintegrated his defense, followed by his divine body. The Tao-defiant Emperor was horrified and tried to disintegrate his divine body to allow his Yang spirit to escape. However, even his Yuan spirit couldn't escape the shackles of the Origin Sacred Mirror's might. The Tao-defiant Emperor could only despair as his Yang spirit collapsed, and his Yuan spirit disintegrated into nothingness. Su Fang used the Four Symbols transformation to strengthen himself, returning everything to its origin, and then reshaping it. This process was originally extremely long. The Tao-defiant Emperor was unlucky at the critical moment when the Origin Sacred Mirror was reshaping Su Fang. He came over at this time and tried to devour Su Fang. Once the Origin Sacred Mirror's might was activated, it was unstoppable, let alone reverse it. In the end, the Tao-defiant Emperor was crushed, and all his essence was given to Su Fang. How shocking was the essence of a supreme Tao-defiant emperor! Moreover, after the Tao-defiant emperor cultivated the Advent life reversal scripture, he reversed the death chi and evil chi into life chi. His life force was extremely boundless, and it was devoured by the world that Su Fang was reshaping. It immediately caused the world to undergo a huge change, and the long process of reshaping was shortened infinitely. Boom! Boom! Su Fang's world underwent a huge change. A giant tree that reached the sky appeared in the world. The builder tree was reshaped, and as it grew wildly, it separated the sky from the earth, and forcefully propped up the sky and the earth. Boundless material continents quickly condensed in the world, and the sky became azure as stars began to form one after another. A kind of heavenly Tao fortune and supreme power of order caused the universe to begin operating in an orderly manner. The four seasons evolved, and natural phenomena such as wind, rain, thunder, and lightning constantly flashed. The sun and moon formed by the Shaoyang divine sun and Shaoyin divine moon released the power of extreme yang and extreme yin, soaking the earth, mountains, and oceans. Life was being nurtured. A mature universe was finally formed. Su Fang's divine will witnessed the changes in his world and universe, and he was pleasantly surprised. After experiencing a terrifying death, he finally obtained a new life. He had taken a new step in his cultivation of the heavenly Tao, and from then on, he would be able to see the world. About 100 years, the world rapidly turned into nothingness, turning into a phantom image of Su Fang, and then from a state of nothingness, it quickly became real. Flesh, blood, meridians, and bones were condensing at an astonishing speed. The divine aperture and Tao palace of heaven and earth were also forming at the same time as the physical body was reshaping. After the period it took an incense stick to burn, an undamaged Su Fang's flesh appeared inside the palace. He carefully sized up the exterior of the physical body. At this moment, Su Fang still looked like he was 17 or 18 years old. His skin was rosy and radiant, and every cell contained an astonishing amount of life force. His black hair flowed elegantly, and his eyes were deep. Purely looking at his facial features, there was nothing special about him. However, his entire body exuded an aura that transcended the world, and he was filled with a mysterious aura. Any woman who saw him could not help but tremble and go crazy. Especially his eyes, which were incomparably deep. If one looked carefully, they gave off the feeling that they were trapped in the universe beyond. And this was only what one could see on the surface. Looking inside his divine body, one could see a deep and vast physical body that contained boundless life force. His life force and vitality surged in his body like a long river. Purely in terms of life force, Su Fang had already surpassed the Master God, and even some ordinary venerable sovereigns could not be compared to him. Inside the divine aperture, the defenses of the divine aperture had become even thicker and sturdier. The sea of magic power surged violently, and it was all pure yin and yang magic power. The yang spirit sat cross-legged on the sea of magic power. It was incomparably solid, like a clone of Su Fang. Next to the yang spirit sat Su Fang, but it had a cold temperament, completely different from Su Fang's original body. The primordial spirit's divine might was also far superior to his original body. It was the second primordial spirit that had been reconstructed. In the heaven and earth Tao Palace, the world tree had become even more majestic and tall. It looked like it was only 10,000 feet tall, but it was actually boundless, supporting the entire heaven and earth Tao Palace. The 75 yang meridians made of jade formed a total of 9 yang meridian vortexes, but the outermost circle was not complete. Inside the yang meridian, the yang energy was like mercury. Not only was it richer than before, but it was also much heavier. The heaven and earth Tao Palace formed by the yang meridian and the world tree was like a complete world. It was filled with a mysterious and vast aura of the heavenly way. The Origin's sacred mirror floated quietly inside the heaven and earth Tao Palace. The simple and unadorned ancient mirror made Su Fang feel more and more mysterious and vast. There was also a magic treasure floating in the heaven and earth Tao Palace. It was the Infinity Chariot. The unlucky sovereign emperor had obtained the Infinity Chariot, but before he could fuse with it, he was killed by the Origin's sacred mirror. The Infinity Chariot then fused with the world within Su Fang's body. These were all things that could be seen, and there were also things that could not be seen. At this moment, Su Fang could clearly sense that the shackles and restraints that the world had placed on him in the past had vanished. He was like a supreme existence that transcended the world. Not only his divine body and primordial spirit, but even his fate had transcended the world. The heavenly way could no longer shackle or restrain him. Transcendence. Chapter 2474. Not only did I transcend, but when I reconstructed my divine body, divine aperture, and heaven and earth Tao Palace, I also naturally advanced to the level of a Master God. Master God. There was no need to integrate with the way of the heavens, extract essence from the heavens and earth, and borrow power from the way of the heavens. This was because a Master God had already cultivated his own world. His energy and precepts all originated from his own inner world, and he could use his inner world to perform supreme remarkable powers. At this moment, Su Fang's inner world and universe had already been cultivated. The only thing he lacked was life. His divine body and sun spirit had also surpassed the unifying path and advanced to the level of a Master God. However, Su Fang's Master God level was obviously different from other peerless masters. The first was the inner world. Su Fang's inner world was a universe with its own heavenly Tao. Ordinary overgods, on the other hand, had only cultivated a single type of Tao to the limit. Thus, the world they established in their bodies was also of a single type. It was like Su Fang's inner world was a vast ocean, and the other masters was a stream or a river. The two naturally could not be compared. In addition, Su Fang's current level had already reached a height that even venerable sovereigns could not reach. That was transcendence. Whether it was peerless masters or peerless venerable sovereigns, although they had cultivated inner worlds and universes, they were all dependent on this universe and were bound and shackled by the way of the heavens. However, Su Fang had formed his own way of the heavens. He was the way of the heavens, and he had severed his fate and karma with this universe, which meant that he had broken free from the shackles of this universe. Transcendence brought Su Fang countless benefits, and his strength surpassed that of a Master God's. As for how high his strength had reached now, it still needed further testing. This filled Su Fang's heart with anticipation. The purple cloud Dharma spirit, his natal magic treasure Xianwang's Six Paths Pagoda, and his second primordial spirit had also become more and more powerful as Su Fang's original body was reconstructed. At this moment, Su Fang was very confident. Even without the help of magic treasures, he had the strength to fight against venerable sovereigns and win. He could even kill ordinary venerable sovereigns. Of course, Su Fang's transcendence and a true transcender still had a huge difference. I've successfully ascended to become a Master God. On top of that, I've even mentally wandered to the outer world and witnessed its scenery. Su Fang felt a burst of longing as he recalled everything he had experienced during his mental journey. It was a pity that he wasn't a true transcendent being yet. There was still a huge gap between him and the true primal chaos beyond the heavens. Furthermore, the chaos-verse beyond the heavens was not only vast and boundless, it was also fraught with danger. Even a true transcendent like Nethery would find it extremely dangerous to enter the chaos-verse beyond the heavens. I wonder who was the expert who stopped God Lord Jin Wu. What was his intention for leaving that rune in my spiritual consciousness? Su Fang felt a chill run down his spine as he recalled the scene where he was almost annihilated. He carefully searched for the runes left behind by the owner of the old voice in his spiritual sense, but he couldn't find any clues. It wasn't that it didn't exist anymore. It was just that the gap between Su Fang's current strength and that mysterious person's was too great. He couldn't sense it at all. The outer world is too far away from me. I'll ignore it for now. Next, I must retrieve all my magic treasures as soon as possible. Apart from the Infinity Wheel, all my other magic treasures have been taken away by the Tao Defiant. Then I must return to the Yuan Tiangong as soon as possible. I mustn't repeat what happened last time. Su Fang, will definitely exterminate anyone who dares to bully my family and friends. Su Fang's heart was suddenly filled with a fierce aura as he recalled how his family and friends had been bullied and humiliated in the divine prison of Heaven's law last time. After settling these matters, I should go to the Palace of Advent to rescue Senior Apprentice Sister. Then, I'll enter the exalted Celestial Mountain and investigate the truth behind the upheavals. Su Fang pondered for a moment as he planned out his next steps. After risking my life, I've finally been reborn and rebuilt. I've finally become a peak expert of this world. This means that I have the strength to control my own fate. Last time, I've completely offended the Imperial people, as well as many divine race experts. After entering the exalted Celestial Mountain, regardless of whether I succeed or fail, the supreme existences of the Imperial people won't let me go. If I fail, the Imperial people will logically kill Su Fang. If I succeed, they'll have to give up the bow after the birds are killed. When I was in the Yuan Tiangong, I seemed to be unscrupulous and obtained the title Su Huang. But in fact, there was always a sword hanging over my head, and I trembled in fear every day. Now, Su Fang revealed a domineering smile, and the lofty aura of a supreme overlord of a great world arose spontaneously at this moment. Now I finally have the confidence to fight against all of this. Even the supreme Imperial people can't control my fate. No one can bully me anymore. Next, Su Fang counted on his fingers and was shocked. With this advancement and his mind wandering, he thought that it would only take a few hundred years for him to break through the heavens. But who knew more than 10,000 years had passed unknowingly? I don't know how many things have happened in these 10,000 years. I have to leave the 10 underworlds as soon as possible. Su Fang couldn't be bothered to continue cultivating and stabilize the normal state of his newly advanced chief god. He also couldn't be bothered to test how strong he had become after becoming a chief god. He hurriedly left the 10 underworlds. As soon as he got up, Su Fang realized that he was completely naked. This was a bit awkward. After this advancement, all the resources had been distributed to the experts under his command. Apart from the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda and the Universe Chariot, the other treasures and storage rings had either been taken away by the Tao Defiance or destroyed along with the death of his divine body. But this wasn't a problem for Su Fang. With a thought, a divine might that turned illusory surged out of his body, and it quickly condensed the power of the world of yin and yang to form a black robe that draped over his body. Just as he was about to leave, Su Fang suddenly sensed something, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. Then, he took a step forward and arrived outside the palace. He saw a black-clothed man standing in the sky above the ruins outside the palace. His entire body was emitting a cold aura. It was Shroud's clone. Unexpectedly, Shroud's clone actually sensed Su Fang's resurrection and appeared at this time. Su Fang cupped his fists toward Shroud's clone. "Senior Shroud, how have you been?" He now understood that Shroud's clone must have the consciousness of Shroud's primordial spirit. Otherwise, without the 9 underworlds embryo stone, he wouldn't be able to display strength that surpassed ordinary sovereign realm experts. Transcendence? You can barely be considered as a half-step transcendence realm expert. But you're really extraordinary. As expected of the successor of that old fellow, quickly enter the exalted Celestial Mountain. You don't have much time left. Shroud's clone nodded and said, A cold divine light swept over Su Fang, and it seemed to see through everything about Su Fang. After giving Su Fang a warning, Shroud's clone immediately turned into an illusory light and disappeared from the 10 underworld. Su Fang's heart sank. After pondering for a moment, Su Fang released his sensing ability. Much to Su Fang's surprise, after becoming a sovereign realm expert, his eyesight had also become extremely shocking. With a sweep of the divine light in his eyes, more than half of the 10 underworlds were covered in his vision. He could see everything clearly. This change wasn't brought about by becoming a sovereign realm expert. Instead, it was because after transcendence, the restrictions of this world on him had become almost negligible. As long as there weren't any powerful barriers, the eyesight of a sovereign realm expert was almost unrestricted. I didn't sense Huang Lingyao's aura. She should have left the 10 underworlds long ago. I wonder what she did to those big goblin and experts under me. Su Fang didn't stay any longer. He took a step forward and directly escaped into the void. In an instant, he didn't know how much space he had traversed before he arrived in front of the natural barrier of the 10 underworld. Such speed was comparable to that of a supreme sovereign realm expert, or even an ordinary sovereign realm expert. After all, even a supreme sovereign realm expert would be shackled in the 10 underworld. After transcendence, even the 10 underworlds couldn't restrain Su Fang. He was like an existence that transcended the world. However, traversing through the void in this way consumed a lot of Su Fang's yin-yang world energy. He couldn't use it for a long time. This attempt once again surprised Su Fang. A lofty feeling of being able to gallop through the vastness of the world arose spontaneously in his heart. Looking at the incomparably powerful natural barrier that even a supreme sovereign realm expert couldn't break through, Su Fang smiled proudly. The next moment, the divine power of the yin-yang world surged out of his body and formed a defensive barrier with an area of 10 feet around him. At this time, Su Fang seemed to have transcended nature and didn't belong to this world. Then, his body swayed and he actually passed through the barrier. The incomparably powerful natural barrier was nothing to him. Whoosh! Su Fang, enveloped by the divine power of the yin-yang world, appeared in the underworld river and then leaped out of the river. QL11 It won't be too late to leave after I finish off Yi Mei. If it weren't for the Lord of the Heavenly Wheel, Su Fang wouldn't have been discovered by the supreme sovereigns of the Tao Defiance Alliance and chased to the 10 underworlds. In particular, the Lord of the Heavenly Wheel had used his grandfather's soul to threaten Su Fang. This was tantamount to touching Su Fang's reverse scale. Moreover, Su Fang had promised Huang Lingyao to kill Yi Mei. Whoosh! Su Fang's figure swayed and broke through the void again. About half a year later, Su Fang came to the yin-yang heavenly wheel again. Buzz, buzz, buzz. As soon as he came out of the void, a familiar aura immediately caused the Destiny Tao runes of the life shrinking technique to flash rapidly in his mind. Then, an extremely clear figure condensed. It wasn't Yi Mei, but a person that Su Fang didn't expect. Goddess Luo. He looked over. He saw a black-clothed woman floating outside the powerful range of the yin-yang heavenly wheel. It was Goddess Luo. Seeing Goddess Luo again, the feeling of déjà vu from the past surged in his mind again. Su Fang was very surprised. Goddess Luo, why have you come to the yin-yang heavenly wheel? At this moment, Yi Mei's cold voice came from the yin-yang heavenly wheel. Little girl, why have you come to my yin-yang heavenly wheel? Seeing that you are young and a woman, I won't make things difficult for you. Hurry up and leave. Goddess Luo said, tell me how to enter the 10 underworlds, and I will leave. Yi Mei said in surprise, the 10 underworlds? A human like you actually knows about the 10 underworlds? Why are you going there? Chapter 2475. Goddess Luo came to the yin-yang heavenly wheel in the netherworld to enter the legendary 10 underworlds to find someone. Su Fang was shocked. The news of my death in the 10 underworlds must have spread throughout the universe. Who else could Goddess Luo be looking for other than me? He then sensed that there were obvious signs of being injured by the netherworld monster on Goddess Luo's body. Her body faintly emitted an aura of death, and her aura was weak. It was obvious that Goddess Luo had gone through countless dangers in the 9 underworlds before coming to the yin-yang heavenly wheel. Thinking of this, Su Fang felt a surge of warmth in his heart. Immediately after, there was a wung sound in his mind, and the Tao runes of fate flickered rapidly. The scene in front of him once again evoked the memories that had been erased. However, when he tried to recall it carefully, he could not recall anything. Night Demon was not surprised. The person you're looking for should be Su Fang, right? Goddess Luo answered decisively, that's right. The person I'm looking for is Su Fang. Night Demon said gloomily, since you can find the yin-yang heavenly wheel, you should know that Su Fang died in the 10 underworlds. You should also know that I once had a life-and-death battle with Su Fang. Goddess Luo nodded and said, that's right. I found this yin-yang heavenly wheel because of this information. Night Demon's cold laughter came from the yin-yang heavenly wheel. Could you be Su Fang's Tao partner? Otherwise, why would you come to the extremely dangerous netherworld for him? Goddess Luo said plainly, I'm not Su Fang's Tao partner. He saved my life before. I heard that he died in the 10 underworlds, so I naturally have to go there to verify it. Night Demon laughed viciously. There's no need to verify it. That human Su Fang died in the 10 underworlds. His soul was destroyed. Goddess Luo's brows knit together tightly, and then she spoke in a cold, indifferent, and domineering voice. I heard that you colluded with the Tao Defiance and pursued Su Fang in the past. So, I came to the yin-yang heavenly wheel this time. Firstly, I wanted to ask you about Su Fang, and secondly, I wanted to crush you and use your life to repay Su Fang for saving my life. You're just a puny human girl. You're not even an overgod, yet you want to suppress me? I'm a supreme existence that can suppress sovereigns. I didn't expect you to be a madwoman. Ha ha. Even though Su Fang is dead, he heavily injured me. I have no one to avenge this grudge. Since you are related to Su Fang and have delivered yourself to me, then I will refine your soul to vent my monstrous hatred. Night Demon's resentful voice echoed around the yin-yang heavenly wheel. In the next moment, she activated the yin-yang heavenly wheel. Countless chains danced on the yin-yang Tianluan like the tentacles of an octopus monster. Each chain had a soul shackled to it, and they screamed in agony. Thousands of souls cried in unison, forming a terrifying primordial spirit power that wanted to destroy Goddess Luo's divine aperture and shackle her divine body. Goddess Luo smiled coldly. After forming a seal, a divine power erupted. A shocking power that caused all the heavenly Tao laws to return to chaos and all great Tao abilities to vanish swept forward. Goddess Luo, Su Fang raised his eyebrows, and his eyes under his eyebrows revealed a look of disbelief. Goddess Luo's cultivation was only at the 9th heaven of the Tao integration stage. She hadn't reached the peak yet. However, the might she used contained the presence of the way of the heavens that transcended the world. Moreover, it was extremely similar to the world within Su Fang's body. In other words, she had also cultivated a world within her body and formed the way of the heavens. Su Fang hadn't sensed Goddess Luo's aura before. After he entered the outer world, he could clearly sense it. Her aura and divine power came from the outer world. It didn't have any fate or karma with this universe. Goddess Luo actually came from the outer world. Why do I feel like she already knew about this? Su Fang was very surprised. The memory of the biscuit immediately appeared in his mind. He was even more certain that he and Goddess Luo had crossed fates before. Moreover, it wasn't an ordinary crossing of fate. Under Goddess Luo's divine power, Night Demon's chains were swept back. Countless souls were turned into nothingness by the divine power. You do have some skills. No wonder you dare to say that you can suppress me. It just so happens that I need to leave 9 underworlds and head to the world of cultivators. I need to devour a large number of cultivators' primordial spirits and hearts to cultivate and recover. Since you are so extraordinary, let me borrow your divine body first. Spear of Primordial Spirit. Night Demon charged out from the spell altar below the yin-yang heavenly wheel. The divine power of her primordial spirit burst out like a tidal wave. It quickly condensed into a spear of primordial spirit. In a flash, it appeared in front of Goddess Luo's forehead. The spear, condensed from the power of the primordial spirit, was about to pierce through the defense of Goddess Luo's divine aperture. It was about to destroy the world of magic power along with her primordial spirit. Pregnant heavenly Tao core. A black Xian Guang shot out from Goddess Luo's forehead. It enveloped an object that looked like a peach pit. It exploded with a mysterious and vast aura. The peach pit collided with the primordial spirit spear. The primordial spirit spear that could shatter the divine aperture of a venerable emperor expert was actually shattered in the collision. Su Fang sensed the aura in the peach pit and was instantly shocked. That peach pit has Shroud's fate aura. Damn it. I can't remember what happened. Su Fang naturally didn't know that this pregnant heavenly Tao core was given to Goddess Luo by Shroud after she broke free from the shackles of the prison-suppressing codex. Shroud was also a transcending being. No matter how powerful Goddess Luo's adoptive father was, he couldn't erase Shroud's fate karma. At most, he could only erase Goddess Luo's memory of that scene with Su Fang. Pregnant heavenly Tao core. It wasn't a spiritual item of creation. It was a supreme existence that was second only to heavenly venerables. It used their own universe to nurture a seed. It was a supreme treasure that was specially used to nurture a successor. The pregnant heavenly Tao core was equivalent to nurturing a universe of its own. Although Night Demon's primordial spirit spear was powerful, it couldn't contend against a universe of its own. Moreover, she was severely injured last time. The divine power of her primordial spirit was less than 1/10 of its peak. It couldn't do anything to Goddess Luo. However, Goddess Luo didn't have it easy either. After all, her cultivation level was only at the Tao integration realm. Furthermore, Night Demon was most proficient in primordial spirit attacks. The pregnant heavenly Tao core had only been fused for tens of thousands of years. When it clashed with the primordial spirit spear, her original body was also affected. Her face instantly turned pale and her body staggered. What treasure is this? It can actually shatter my primordial spirit divine power? It seems like my luck isn't bad. I didn't get any treasure when I was chasing Su Fang. This time, someone actually took the initiative to deliver a treasure to me. Soul-shattering thunderous roar. Night Demon also saw that the pregnant heavenly Tao core was extraordinary. She instantly became excited. She used Night Demon's primordial spirit divine power again. The roar of her primordial spirit sounded like thunder. Black primordial spirit lightning swept towards Goddess Luo. Goddess Luo didn't expect Night Demon's primordial spirit divine power to be so powerful. It was far beyond her imagination. Although the pregnant heavenly Tao core was extraordinary, it wasn't a primordial spirit Dharma treasure. Her primordial spirit was about to be destroyed by Night Demon's soul-shattering thunderous roar. Suddenly Night Demon let out a terrified roar. With a whoosh, she escaped into the void. The black lightning that swept towards Goddess Luo also lost its strength and quickly dissipated into nothingness. Goddess Luo was shocked and stunned. She subconsciously looked behind her. The moment she saw Su Fang's figure, Goddess Luo instantly felt as though she was struck by lightning. She was stunned on the spot. This is Su Fang's destiny divine power. It's impossible. How is it possible? Night Demon's terrified scream came from the void. Immediately after, his figure jumped out of the void in a sorry state. The body that was formed by the power of his primordial spirit was shattered. The black light was also turning into nothingness. It was like a lamp that was about to be extinguished. The human figure inside was also shrinking. It was struggling and resisting some invisible and terrifying power. Lightning of destiny. It turned out that when Su Fang saw Goddess Luo in danger, he didn't hesitate to use the supreme destiny divine power that countered the primordial spirit. It was the lightning of destiny. Night Demon was also unlucky to have met Su Fang, his nemesis. First, it was the ancestor demon blood plate and second primordial spirit. Then, it was the lightning of destiny. Furthermore, he was injured by the lightning of destiny. However, this time, Su Fang didn't use the lightning of destiny at full force. Night Demon was the nutrient and material for his second primordial spirit to become stronger. How could Su Fang bear to kill him? Su Fang stepped out and instantly arrived in front of Night Demon. He looked at Night Demon. A black whirlpool rapidly spun in his eyes. The shocking primordial spirit devouring divine power swept Night Demon up. Su Fang, you're not dead? How can you not be dead? Night Demon discovered Su Fang. Instantly, he was like a mortal who had seen a ghost in broad daylight. Under the power of the lightning of destiny, Night Demon became extremely weak. He was not far from death. Su Fang had been reborn this time and became a Lord God. His original body's primordial spirit and second primordial spirit had also transformed. At this moment, his second primordial spirit and his original body's primordial spirit were releasing their primordial spirit's divine power in the divine aperture at the same time. How could Night Demon resist? Night Demon could only struggle at death's door. However, all his struggles were futile. Tao Defiance Union, didn't you say that you have killed Su Fang? You idiots! 9 great emperors couldn't even kill a mere Tao integration cultivator. I'm not willing to accept this. I'm a supreme existence who wants to dominate all the heavens and myriad worlds. Night Demon screamed in despair and unwillingness. However, whether he was unwilling or desperate, he couldn't change his fate of being devoured by the second primordial spirit. In the end, Night Demon was sucked into Su Fang's divine aperture. This time, it was equivalent to entering Su Fang's territory. He allowed Su Fang's second primordial spirit to devour him. Just like this, the Lord of the Heavenly Wheel, who occupied the Yin-Yang Heavenly Wheel and blocked the Tao of Reincarnation, the powerful Night Demon who had the ability to crush the primordial spirits of venerable emperors, died completely. He became the nutrient for the second primordial spirit to become stronger. After using the lightning of destiny and using the divine power of his primordial spirit to devour Night Demon, Su Fang had consumed a lot of energy. However, it was still within the range that he could bear. Su Fang? Are you really Su Fang? Chapter 2476. I'm Su Fang, the big goblin Yuan Li. Su Fang smiled and nodded. He stared at Goddess Luo, and the sense of intimacy from their fates grew stronger. You didn't die. The leader of the Tao Defiance Alliance could kill you even with his unshackled doppelganger? Goddess Luo looked at Su Fang in surprise. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Su Fang touched the tip of his nose. Why? Miss Luo, do you want me to die? Goddess Luo said faintly. I heard that you were killed by the emperors of the Tao Defiance Alliance and died in the 10 underworlds. I feel like I've lost something, so I came here from the Sky Beacon God world. How could I? Don't misunderstand. I came to find out about you because you once saved my life. I don't mean anything else. Su Fang cupped his fists and said, No matter what, I have to thank you, Miss Luo. Goddess Luo looked at Su Fang carefully, and her expression changed. Transcendence. You've transcended heaven and earth. It's just luck, but it's not true transcendence. It's because I was reborn that I escaped the Tao Defiance Alliance's pursuit. Su Fang smiled embarrassedly. Then he looked at Goddess Luo and said, You're heavily injured. This isn't a place to stay for long. Let's leave quickly. I still want to hear about what happened in the outside world in the past 10,000 years. Goddess Luo looked at Su Fang in shock. Then, she nodded and said, "All right. We have to deal with the yin-yang heavenly wheel." Su Fang looked at the yin-yang heavenly wheel and thought for a moment. Then he released a burst of divine power that enveloped the entire yin-yang heavenly wheel and the spell altar below. Under the divine power of the yin-yang heavenly wheel and the power of the purple cloud Dharma spirit, Su Fang quickly destroyed the restrictions and spell altar that night demon had left inside the yin-yang heavenly wheel. The yin-yang heavenly wheel started to operate again. Countless souls pulled the huge wheel and started the cycle of life and death. Although Su Fang could not repair the samsara of life and death in the netherworld, a small part of the soul could enter samsara with the help of the heavenly wheel of yin-yang and be reincarnated, which was a great merit for Su Fang. Then, Su Fang transmitted his thoughts, "Go Li, I am Su Fang. Come and see me quickly." His thoughts instantly traversed through endless time and space, and were sensed by Go Li, who was far away on the reincarnation stage. This was the powerful ability brought about by Su Fang's transcendence from heaven and earth. With a single thought, he could transcend the restrictions of heaven and earth, and in an instant, he could transmit his thoughts to the endless space. Underworld Judge Go Li's face was filled with shock. "My lord, you are not dead? How are you still alive?" Go Li was currently overseeing the reincarnation stage, and all the souls that entered the netherworld had to be judged by him. Over the past 10,000 years, countless humans, big goblin, and other life forms had entered the netherworld river, and there was no lack of powerful figures among them. Underworld Judge Go Li learned from these souls that the big goblin Yuan Li was Su Fang, and that Su Fang had been killed by the Emperor of the Tao Defiance Alliance in the 10 underworlds, so it was naturally easy for him to learn. At this moment, when he suddenly heard Su Fang's voice, Go Li was so frightened that he trembled and spoke incoherently. "Looks like you can't wait for me to die, right? Get over here." Su Fang's cold voice made Go Li's heart skip a beat. Only then did he conclude that Su Fang was really not dead, and he dived into the reincarnation well. Through the reincarnation well, Go Li traversed through time and space and appeared outside the yin-yang heavenly wheel in less than 10 breaths. QL11 looking at Su Fang, Go Li asked doubtfully, "My lord, it's really you?" Su Fang used the big goblin Yuan Li's voice and said majestically, "If it's not me, then who else can it be? I'm about to leave the 9 underworlds, and you'll guard the yin-yang heavenly wheel. From now on, you'll be the master of the yin-yang heavenly wheel, and you'll be in charge of the reincarnation of the 9 underworlds." "I'm the master of the yin-yang heavenly wheel." Go Li was shocked and stunned, and then he was overjoyed. "Thank you, my lord." He was an underworld judge, and if the 9 underworlds had not been shattered, he would be considered a powerful figure. Now that the 9 underworlds had been shattered, and the reincarnation cycle had been severed, Go Li was just a lonely soul that was more powerful than those nether souls. Now, he actually controlled the reincarnation cycle of the 9 underworld. More importantly, with the help of the yin-yang heavenly wheel, his strength would definitely improve by leaps and bounds, and he would definitely be a powerful figure in the 9 underworlds in the future. He might even reach the height of the underworld venerables in the past. How could Go Li not be overjoyed by such an amazing fortune? "It's also your fortune to have met me, Su Fang. Cultivate well, and maybe the vow you made in the Mirage Buddha Light Kingdom will come true." Su Fang waved his hand and took out the universe chariot. He invited Goddess Luo into the universe chariot, and after activating it, they flew towards the direction of the reincarnation stage. They planned to leave the Nether River through the Black Mountain Peak that they had entered the Nether River. Su Fang did not use a movement technique that transcended the heaven and earth. Firstly, it was too exhausting, and secondly, he wanted to ask Goddess Luo about what had happened in the outside world in the past 10,000 years. Most importantly, he wanted to ask about his father and the others in the Saint Palace, as well as the subordinates that Huang Lingyao had brought out of the 9 underworlds. On the universe chariot, Su Fang and Goddess Luo communicated with each other through divine sense. Xianming Sect Master? I heard that you died in the 10 underworlds, and I immediately left the Sky Beacon God world. I didn't hear anything about her. As for your family in the Saint Palace, I know about them. They caused quite a stir when they were in the Yuan Tiangong. Goddess Luo explained to Su Fang. It turned out that after the news of Su Fang's death spread, the supreme existence of the imperial people did not appear to confirm it. Instead, they were as calm as Mount Tai, as if they did not care about Su Fang's death at all. They also did not do anything to Su Fang's father and the others. However, some people proposed to take back the Saint Palace. Some juniors of the Duanmu Divine Clan, Luo Divine Clan, Qi people, and Yi Clan even went to the Saint Palace to cause trouble. They wanted to vent their anger and test the imperial people's reaction. In the end, Xuanxin appeared in the Saint Palace, and in a fit of anger, he displayed strength that surpassed that of an ordinary overgod. He sealed a dozen prodigies from the various ancient divine clans in ice, and even froze a prodigy of the Yi clan to death, leaving only his yang spirit behind. Nirvana? After being reborn, Xuanxin displayed great strength and unparalleled dominance, which shocked the entire Yuan Tiangong. Xuanxin Nirvana? He was reborn and his strength increased greatly? Hearing this news, Su Fang was surprised and delighted. He did not expect to hear such great news before he even left the netherworld. Then, he sneered, those ancient divine clans will definitely not let this go, right? If those ancient divine clans dare to touch Xuanxin and my family, I, Su Fang, will definitely compensate them with the heads of those ancient divine clans' venerable sovereigns. Who dares to touch Su Fang's cultivation partner? As soon as Su Fang's cold and embarrassed tone came out, Goddess Luo suddenly saw what seemed to be a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood behind him. Goddess Luo's heart skipped a beat. Then, a thought surged in her mind. How lucky is Xuanxin to have such a cultivation partner in this life? Just as Su Fang expected, those ancient divine clans were not willing to let this go. The experts of their clans came to the Saint Palace to denounce Xuanxin. Who would have thought that Di Xian would suddenly appear and reprimand the experts of the ancient god clan, ordering them to back down. Only then did the commotion die down. From then on, no one dared to lay a finger on Su Fang's family and friends in the Sanctum of Sages. This time, the supreme existence of the imperial people has obviously learned their lesson. Hearing Goddess Luo's narration, Su Fang sneered, but that Di Xuan is indeed a good friend. Only then did Su Fang relax. In addition, Su Fang also learned from Goddess Luo that after the news of his death spread, the people of the Sky Beacon God world were in turmoil. The Tao Defiance Alliance took advantage of the situation to launch a fierce attack on the Sky Barrier. Fortunately, the Sky Barrier created by the Mountain Guardian was extremely sturdy, so the Tao Defiance Alliance would not be able to break through it in a short period of time. I wonder how Huang Lingyao is doing now. The only thing Su Fang was worried about was Huang Lingyao. Of course, he was not worried about Huang Lingyao. Instead, he was worried about his grandfather's soul in the Dark Valley Origin Pearl. Just as Su Fang was worried about Huang Lingyao was in a life and death crisis. So, after Su Fang died, the Tao Defiance Alliance's leader left behind a Tao Defiance Emperor to guard the palace while he led the other Tao Defiance Emperors and quickly left the 10 underworlds. Huang Lingyao stayed in the 10 underworlds for almost 1,000 years before she carefully left through the gap in the barrier. After returning to nature, Huang Lingyao headed straight for the Sky Beacon God world. Because of her identity and the grand Tao she cultivated, she was directly teleported to the vast frost prison when she passed through the sky barrier. Fortunately, Huang Lingyao was able to regain her freedom with Di Xuan's help. Otherwise, she would have been unable to escape her fate of being suppressed. According to Su Fang's arrangements, Huang Lingyao was looking for Mo Tiangong. She intended to hand over the jade slips that Su Fang had left for Xuanxin, Sang Qiu, and the Tao-defiant Emperor, and all the experts under Su Fang's command to Emo Tiangong so that he could bring them to the Yuan Tiangong. Unexpectedly, Di Xuan and the others had obtained a large amount of nether sand in the 9th underworld. After returning to the Sky Beacon God World, Emo Tiangong immediately returned to the Yuan Tiangong. Huang Lingyao had no choice but to personally make a trip to the Yuan Tiangong in order to complete Su Fang's request. Su Fang had said that the big goblin that Su Fang had subdued in the Sky Beacon God World would be able to regain their freedom. So, when Huang Lingyao left the Sky Beacon God World, she released the big goblin back to the Demon Mountain of the Sky Beacon God World. But including Wang Tian, Jiajiemu, Jiajiemu, Yun Ran Jiemu 3, Songhui, Lang Ran Jieya, Shan Lai, Liang Lai is identical to Jiajiemu, Major, Ba, Jiajiemu, Ba Jiajiemu. However, a small number of them chose to leave, including the Qilin monster. What Huang Lingyao didn't expect was that the big goblin that remained in the Demon Mountain would bring her such a disaster. In the Sky Beacon God World, with Di Xuan's personal appearance, even Emperor Realm Masters didn't dare to touch Huang Lingyao. However, this didn't mean that no one had any ideas about her. After all, she was the only person that Su Fang had come into contact with before his death. Once she left the Sky Beacon God World, experts from several powerful forces immediately entered the Demon Mountain, either to suppress or tempt. From the big goblin that remained in the Demon Mountain, they learned that before Su Fang died, he had left all the resources to Huang Lingyao and asked her to pass them to Su Fang's relative. Chapter 2477. In the Golden Rainbow King World, Huang Lingyao had obtained the inheritance of Emperor Mingyu. Moreover, it was not an ordinary technique or divine ability inheritance. Instead, she had obtained a part of Emperor Mingyu's strength, which increased her strength greatly. She now had the strength of a peerless overgod. In addition, the Death Great Tao divine ability of the Dark Nether God clan was powerful and strange. Even if she faced a peak overgod, she could still fight. In the Yin-Yang Heavenly Wheel, Huang Lingyao faced the danger of being possessed by Yi Mei and chose to fall into the path of death. Although she had become an emotionless zombie, her strength had increased again. Unless a venerable overgod attacked her personally, she was invincible among the overgods. In addition, there was Wang Tiantian by her side. Wang Tiantian Rong Ishan Mi Mu? Nai Di? Wang Tiantian Jin Lu? Wang Tiantian? Wang Tiantian Zheng? Wang Tiantian? Huan Wei Ping Sai Fei Benzin? Wang Tiantian? Jia Zhang Kusi Qin Wei Ping? However, 100 years ago, the venerable overgods from the ancient god clans and forces could no longer sit still. Huang Lingyao was severely injured by the Qi people's venerable overgods. She was lucky enough to escape into the depths of the chaotic void. Whoosh! A gigantic green lotus that was 1,000 miles long was flying through the chaotic torrent. In a split second, it had traversed through the boundless space. The chaotic torrent, which was something that ordinary deities would shrink back from, could not stop the green lotus at all. There were more than a dozen gods sitting cross-legged on the green lotus. Duanmu Renjie, the peerless genius of the Duanmu god clan, was among them. There were also 9 peerless overgods. One of them had reached the peak and was only one step away from the peerless overgod realm. It could be said that all the experts below the venerable overgod realm in the Duanmu god clan had come out. There was also a middle-aged man in a fiery red robe. It was the human form of the big goblin Qilin under Su Fang. After a long silence, Duanmu Renjie couldn't help but ask, "Lord Demon Lord, are you sure your senses are correct?" Because the Qilin monster was the strongest big goblin in the Sky Beacon god realm, it was revered as a demon venerable. The Qilin chuckled before replying confidently, "My strongest innate ability is luck, and luck is also an ethereal fate. I have followed the Xianming sect master from the 10 purgatories to the sky beacon god realm for a long time, so I have long since grasped her fate aura. As long as she hasn't fled to a place like the 10 purgatories, there is no way she can escape my senses. She is indeed in the depths of the primal chaos void. Duanmu Renjie was relieved. He nodded and said, "Now that Demon Venerable has said so, I am relieved. The Jianmu tree that Su Fang plundered from the Ji people is now in the hands of the Xianming sect master. The Jianmu tree is extremely important to our Duanmu divine clan. We cannot afford to lose it." The Qilin monster said, "Young Master Duanmu, don't forget that when we capture the Xianming sect master, half of Su Fang's treasures will belong to me." Of course, but the Xianming sect master was able to escape from the Qi people's venerable emperor. His strength is not to be underestimated. Furthermore, he has a Wangtian with him? Yanjixi Wei Jia? Jianjixi Wei Jia? Jianjixi Wei Jia. The Xianming sect master was severely injured by the Qi people's venerable emperor. He was only able to escape by using the Nether Divine Clan's forbidden technique. As for that Wangtian, Jiu, Yuantong, Tuhuan, Jiu Wushu. Just as Duanmu Renjie and the Qilin monster were conversing, Hua QL11 the Green Lotus rushed out of the primal chaos current and arrived at the depths of the primal chaos. A moving world appeared in their sight. Xianming sect master, the Qilin monster, Duanmu Renjie, and the peerless experts of the Duanmu divine clan were instantly energized. They rushed towards the moving world like duck. Boom! The peak stage master god from the Duanmu divine clan waved his hand and unleashed a wave of wood elemental divine power. It swept over and was about to shatter the moving world. Duanmu divine clan, you're courting death. Wangtian? Jianjiao? Jianjiao? Lanjiao? Jianjiao? Jianjiao? Then, the crimson Xian Guang tore apart the divine power of the Duanmu divine clan elder. Wangtian? Jianjiao Mu? Nawei Jianjiao? Lanjiao Crab Shawei? Mu Jianjiao? Jianjiao? Lanjiao Zhongnai? Jianjiao? Duanmu Renjie's eyes shone brightly. As expected of the Xianming sect master. Quickly hand over Su Fang's treasures. Huang Lingyao said coldly, Duanmu divine clan, how dare you snatch Su Fang's treasures in public? Aren't you afraid that Dixuan will avenge Su Fang? Dixuan. Duanmu Renjie's expression changed slightly, but it soon returned to normal. Lord Dixuan is a peerless figure of the supreme imperial people. Before Su Fang died, he disobeyed the supreme imperial people. Now that he has died, why would Lord Dixuan avenge a dead Su Fang? Wangtian? Xian Tsong Mo Zi Zheng? Xian Tsong Mo Zi? Xian Tsong Zi Li Zheng? Yi Yen Lianjuan Qilin chuckled. Su Fang has already died. How can he still be my master? The seals he left in my primordial spirit and divine body are already gone. Who can do anything to me? Wangtian? Yen? Yishith Yen? Yen? Chen Sibo? Hua Li Sheng can Yen Liao Yen? Zheng? Yen Liao? Yen Liao? Yen Liao Yen? Wangtian? You? Yen Liao Yen? Song Yen? Yen? Yen Liao Yen Liao? Yen Liao? Yen Liao Yen? Wan Gu Huan Wei? Yen? Yen Liao? Yen? Yen Liao Yen? 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 Yijia? Yen Liao? Duanmu Renjie sneered in disdain. Kill them all. Just as Qilin and Duanmu divine clan experts were about to kill Huang Lingyao and Wangtian? Yen Liao Jie swoosh. Swoosh. More than 10 figures walked out of the chaotic torrent and walked toward them. Seeing that they were all gods in starry robes, Duanmu Renjie's divine light changed instantly. Luo clan. These experts were all peerless sovereigns from the Luo clan. It was obvious that they had followed the Duanmu divine clan here. The leader was a middle-aged man from the Luo clan who had reached the peak of sovereign god level. He nodded at the elder from the Duanmu divine clan and said, Su Fang has a blood feud with the Luo clan. Naturally, the Luo clan will have a share of the treasures he left behind. The Duanmu Divine Clan shouldn't have any objections, right? The expressions of the Duanmu Divine Clan members turned extremely ugly. Qi, a Dharma treasure, the Xian Guang, tore through the void and suddenly appeared 1,000 miles away. It turned into a golden arrow that was 100 feet long. The Xian Guang dissipated, and 5 overgod experts with sharp arrow auras flew out. The experts from the Yi clan had also arrived. At this moment, Huang Lingyao was like a piece of fat meat that was at the mercy of the Duanmu Divine Clan, the Yi clan, and the Luo clan. Duanmu Renjie also knew that it would be difficult to take Su Fang's treasures for himself this time. After thinking for a while, he shouted loudly, "Everyone, why don't we join forces and kill the Xianming sect master and Wang Tian? Defeat them? Slowly rustle them? Wan Wei Ji soon? Badger me Ji soon? Do you want me to fold a V-shaped hairpin? Wan Wei Jun?" The peak sovereign god from the Luo clan nodded and said, "That's right." The Yi clan also nodded in agreement. At this moment, Huang Lingyao suddenly said, "If you want Su Fang's treasures, you can have them all, including the Qi people's creation divine artifact, the illusionary compass chariot, and the soul marrow milk. I can give them all to you. My condition is also very simple. Let me and Su Fang's subordinates leave." The experts from the Luo clan and the Yi clan were slightly tempted. The Xianming sect master could escape from the Qi people's peerless sovereign. It was enough to show that his strength was extraordinary. On top of that, he had a powerful Wang Tian, Su Fang, Su Qiao Wei Ji Sun, Mu Ai, Su Qiao, Su Qiao, Su Qiao, Su Qiao, Su Qiao. The elder from the Duanmu Divine Clan was also tempted. However, Duanmu Renjie suddenly said, "Everyone, don't forget that Su Fang found the nether sand in the 9 Netherland and made a great contribution to the universe again. Moreover, I heard that he has a special relationship with Dixuan. If today's matter is spread out, it won't be good for the reputation of the ancient god world's divine clans." Everyone's expression changed. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent when they looked at Huang Lingyao. "Kill!" Duanmu Renjie shouted coldly. When the experts from the Duanmu Divine Clan were about to kill Huang Lingyao, a master beside the peak sovereign god suddenly spat out a green sword light from his mouth and shot it at the elder. The two of them were so close to each other. Moreover, the elder from the Duanmu Divine Clan didn't expect that his clansmen would sneak attack him. He was caught off guard and his head was smashed by the sword light. Even his sun spirit couldn't escape in time and died immediately. The sudden change caused everyone to be shocked and stunned. The master who attacked the elder from the Duanmu Divine Clan rolled out a profound gate from his palm, and a white-clothed woman appeared in front of him. This woman had a peerless appearance and a cold temperament. She had a sacred and domineering aura that looked down on the world. Duanmu Renjie's expression changed instantly. Huang Xuanxin. This white-clothed woman was Xuanxin. After she returned to the Yuan Tiangong, she had been guarding the Saint Temple until she heard that Huang Lingyao had returned from the 9 Netherland and was being hunted down by the experts from various divine clans. Therefore, she quietly left the Yuan Tiangong. Su Fang's second primordial spirit had been developing the assassin organization Solus in the Hunyuan Heaven Realm back then, and had even infiltrated the ancient divine clans like the Duanmu Divine Clan. Although Su Fang's original body and second primordial spirit had perished in the 10 Netherland, the experts who were controlled by the second primordial spirit's night charm still obeyed the orders of the 3 brothers from the Liao family who controlled Solus. When Xuanxin found out that the Duanmu Divine Clan was also hunting down Huang Lingyao, and that there was an expert who was being controlled among the experts from the Duanmu Divine Clan who were hunting down Huang Lingyao, she hid in the inner world of the expert's artifact and only showed herself now. Duanmu Renjie's face was pale and he shouted angrily, "Huang Xuanxin, what did you do to make the experts from my clan obey your orders? How dare you kill the supreme expert of my Duanmu divine clan? I'm Su Fang's Dao companion, Xuanxin. I'm not some Huang Xuanxin. When you go to the Nine Netherland, don't tell the underworld judge the wrong name of your enemy. Xuanxin's calm voice was filled with bone-piercing coldness and an unparalleled domineering aura. A gust of extremely cold air rose from Xuanxin's head and condensed into an illusory image of an ice phoenix. It released an ice-cold and wholly divine aura and instantly turned into a world of ice. The experts from the Duanmu divine clan, Yi clan, Luo clan, Huang Lingyao and Wang Tian? Lu? Xiao? Betraying your master is a crime punishable by death. Xuanxin's cold voice resounded in the world. Then, streaks of sparkling and translucent phoenix feathers swept towards the Qilin monster like a storm. The Qilin monster lasted for a dozen breaths before it was crushed into pieces by the storm of phoenix feathers. Duanmu Renjie, Su Fang once spared your life, but you don't know what's good for you. Today, I'll kill a clown like you on behalf of Su Fang. Chapter 2478. Huang Xuanxin, I'm a genius of the Duanmu divine clan. If you dare to kill me, the Duanmu divine clan will not rest until you're dead. Even the divine phoenix ancient clan will not be able to save you. Duanmu Renjie was only at the Dao integration realm. In Xuanxin's world, he was as weak as a chicken waiting to be slaughtered. He was smart enough to know that he had completely angered Xuanxin this time. Even if he begged for mercy, Xuanxin would not spare him. That was why he brought up the Duanmu divine clan, hoping to scare Xuanxin. Xuanxin displayed a domineering aura rarely seen in women. Her cold voice rang in Duanmu Renjie's head. When Su Fang returns, the Duanmu divine clan will be annihilated. You're just one step ahead of the rest of the Duanmu divine clan. Su Fang returns? An incredulous thought flashed through Duanmu Renjie's mind. Soon after, he fell into boundless icy darkness. His yang spirit and divine body were frozen to death. Boom, boom, boom. The many overgod experts who were shackled by Xuanxin's world unleashed their full strength and attacked Xuanxin's world. Xuanxin indeed had the ice phoenix body. She had gone through a nirvana. After that, she actually trapped more than 30 overgods in her world with her cultivation base that had just entered the overgod realm. There were even peak overgod experts among them. However, Xuanxin's world continued to shatter under the attacks of so many overgods. After she killed 2 middle-rank overgods and severely injured a peak overgod expert, her world shattered. Even so, Xuanxin's powerful strength shocked the overgod experts from the 3 major divine clans. Xuanxin Huang killed the Duanmu divine clan's overgod experts and young master. Kill her! The Duanmu divine clan experts also knew that they would lose their lives if they did not fight with all their might today. The remaining experts charged toward Xuanxin. Although the Luo clan and Yi clan experts were shocked by Su Fang's strength, they were confident in their numbers. Coupled with the temptation of Su Fang's relic, they also charged toward Huang Lingyao. All hail the mistress! Heavens! Ho ho! Ho ho! Refined with salt? Qing Beng boasted about the lack of money. Wang Wei you are empty and endless, you talk about it. Xuanxin, the peerless genius of the great world. I didn't expect him to display his peerless talent in the myriad worlds. Huang Lingyao glanced at Xuanxin, and then released a dozen big goblin, cultivators, ghost spirit, dragon bird, and 2 gorilla demons that Su Fang had subdued before. They all charged toward the masters from the 3 divine clans. There were only around a dozen big goblin and cultivators who remained in the mobile world who were truly powerful enough to fight against Overgod. However, those who remained were all loyal to Su Fang. They did not fear death and were even willing to blow themselves up. Plus Wang Tian? Do you want to see the thief? The dirty soil of York? What? You shot me. Was it urgent enough? Hashtag? Roundworm? Stunned by the words, Zhi Lai Yaozhong? Sniper? Ding? Close? Instigate? Floating fan? Snipe? Xianxia? My dear friend, I say that you are making a ruckus, but you are dying in vain. The supreme sovereigns from the 3 divine clans clashed for less than an hour. More than a dozen of them had perished, and the rest had managed to break out of the encirclement and flee. Huang Lingyao. At a glance, Xuanxin could tell that Huang Lingyao was seriously injured. At this moment, he was like an arrow at the end of its flight and was about to fly towards Huang Lingyao. Suddenly a majestic voice reverberated in Xuanxin's mind. Su Feng is already heaven-defying. I didn't expect his Taoist companion to be so extraordinary as well. Then, a figure walked out of the void. In an instant, the surrounding chaotic void that was turbulent and chaotic became still with the appearance of this person. Xuanxin, Huang Lingyao, and the others, as well as the big goblin, all trembled under this supreme divine might, and they couldn't help but feel reverence and submission from the bottom of their hearts. Some of the big goblins and cultivators with weaker cultivations knelt down in the air one after another. Di Zun. The divine light in Xuanxin's eyes changed instantly, and a sharp and cold murderous intent flashed in his deep eyes. Qi Emperor. Huang Lingyao's heart also sank to the bottom. The figure quickly became real and turned into a middle-aged fat man. He was wearing a brocade robe and exuded an aura of wealth. He was the supreme Di Zun of the Qi people, an ancient divine clan in the ancient divine world. The overall strength and power of the Qi people were not as strong as the big clans such as the Sanskrit, the Luo clan, and the Yi clan. However, the Qi people were the richest divine clan in the whole universe. The Tongbao Chamber of Commerce, which was spread all over the universe, was controlled by the Qi people. The Di Zun of the Qi people looked at Huang Lingyao and said with a smile, "You are an evil existence from the dark world. You are quite extraordinary to be able to escape from me. Take out the supreme divine weapon of creation of my clan and Su Feng's relic, and I will allow you to kill yourself." The Di Zun of the Qi people looked amiable, like a businessman. However, his tone was extremely domineering. This was the power of a Di Zun, the top existence in the whole universe. He was like the heavenly Tao, looking down on everything in the universe. Suppress them all. A light flashed in the eyes of the Di Zun of the Qi people. It turned into a copper coin that was 10 feet long. Its power enveloped Xuanxin, Huang Lingyao, and the masters under Su Feng. They had no power to resist, and were about to be shackled by the Di Zun of the Qi people. Suddenly, another sharp voice came from the void. "Qi Emperor, the geniuses of my clan, Yi Luoyang, Yi Lai, and the powerful Yi Ling, all died in the hands of Su Feng, including the masters who died today. The Yi clan should have a share of Su Feng's relic. It is unreasonable for the Qi people to take it all." It was the supreme Di Zun of the Yi clan. Then, another cold aura descended and turned into a middle-aged man with a cold aura all over his body. It was the Guanghan Di Zun who was in charge of the Sky Beacon Divine Realm. He looked at Huang Lingyao and said indifferently, "I am not greedy. I only want the Yin treasures that this woman of the Yin Nether Divine Clan obtained in the Nine Netherland, especially the Yin condensing mysterious water and the soul marrow milk. Qi Emperor and Yi Emperor won't refuse this small request of mine, right?" Unexpectedly, 3 Di Zun appeared at the same time. QL11 in addition to Xuanxin, Huang Lingyao, Wang Tian? About 8 annihilations? About 9 nether? Shackles? Small. The 3 Di Zun communicated with their divine thoughts. In just a few breaths, they had bargained countless times and barely reached an agreement that all 3 parties could accept to divide the treasures of Su Feng. Just as they were about to take Huang Lingyao and the others away, Xian Xian suddenly sneered. 3 venerable sovereigns, why don't you ask if Su Feng's Tao companion is willing to let you plunder his treasures so brazenly? The Moon Emperor glanced at Xuanxin contemptuously. Do you think you are a one-time nirvana? Do you think you are qualified to look down on the supreme Di Zun masters? Xuanxin smiled indifferently and said domineeringly, 3D Zune Masters, you should have heard that Su Fang killed more than 1D Zune Masters of the Dao Defiance Alliance in the Nine Netherland. Aren't you afraid that Su Fang will pay you a visit when he returns? The 3D Zune Masters raised their eyebrows at the same time, especially the D Zune Master of the E-Clan, whose deep eyes flashed with deep fear. The Qi Emperor sneered disdainfully. The natal lamp that Su Fang left in the Yuan Tiangong has already been extinguished. Do you still think that he can escape alive like he did in the divine prison of law? Only then did the other 2D Zune Masters come to their senses. Even if Su Fang is really lucky enough to survive and kill all of you, do you think he can blame me? The D Zune Master of the E-Clan's eyes flashed with killing intent. He intended to kill all of them. The D Zune Masters of the Qi people and the Moon Emperor both showed killing intent. Xuanxin sneered, 3D Zune Masters, I advise you not to make a mistake. Seeing Xuanxin so calm, the Qi Emperor and the Moon Emperor were still a little hesitant. However, the D Zune Master of the E-Clan's killing intent did not decrease. With a thought, a sharp arrow light flickered in his eyes and a terrifying divine power of the fallen divine sun spread out, about to kill Xuanxin and the others. Unexpectedly, a figure flashed out from Xuanxin's body. It was an old man whose face could not be seen clearly and whose aura could not be sensed. It was as if he was above the heavenly way. In an instant, the 3D Zune Masters felt a roar in their minds and their bodies trembled. They were D Zune Masters, but in the face of this old man, who was obviously just a projection of his will, they were trembling in fear, like weak chickens facing a divine phoenix. The Mountain Guardian, the 3D Zune Masters suddenly felt insignificant, as if they had just set foot on the road of cultivation. In the eyes of D Zune Masters, all lives in the world were ants. However, in the eyes of Transcendence, D Zune Masters were also ants. They had never expected that the Mountain Guardian would leave a trace of his primordial spirit consciousness in Xuanxin. This meant that Xuanxin's identity was not an ordinary genius. How could someone who was protected by the Mountain Guardian be ordinary? The 3D Zune Masters braced themselves and waited for the Mountain Guardian's thunder fury. Unexpectedly, the Mountain Guardian said indifferently, Xuanxin is this king's granddaughter. For this king's sake, can the three of you let her go this time? The 3D Zune Masters felt as if they had been struck by lightning again. A supreme master in the world had actually recognized Xuanxin as his granddaughter. Who would dare to touch her in the future? What made them even more confused was that the Mountain Guardian had no intention of punishing them. It was really inconceivable. Go. You have sowed the seeds, and someone will naturally take revenge on you. The Mountain Guardian waved his hand and turned into a Xian Guang that drilled into Xuanxin's body. The 3D Zune Masters felt as if they had been pardoned. They bowed to Xuanxin and then left in a hurry, not daring to stay for a moment longer. Huang Lingyao Wang Tian? About 8 rolling wheels which cut and constrict. Colorful aperture, harsh art? School? Jealous judge? Model? Rock rhythm noise pan? Invading charm saying oyster cable gathering? Gu Huan Qiao Shu Su? Mutual harmony. Tu Xuanxin flew forward. Huang Lingyao, I didn't expect that we would meet again in the world. Xuanxin. Huang Lingyao nodded. Her tone was cold and deathly still. Greetings, mistress. Wang Tian? Wei Tua? You? Wei Tua Jun? Chasing purple cricket? Tum Chiofu? You? Oh. Xuanxin nodded and said, I have seen your loyalty. When your master returns, he will definitely reward you handsomely. Master, didn't he already? Wang Tian? Pleiades calamity promise jealous judge? Copy? Xuanxin smiled lightly. Didn't you hear clearly just now? Wang Tian? Wei Tua? You? Wei Tua? Wei Tua? Wei Tua? Wei Tua? What Wei Tua? AI? Wei Tua? Who else but Su Fang dared to look for the 3D Zune Masters to end today's karma? If even the mountain guardian said so, Su Fang naturally didn't die. Thinking about this, Wang Tian? Wei Tua? Wei Tua? Wei Tua? Wei Tua? Little. Xuanxin smiled slightly. There were still some words that she didn't say out loud. She even suppressed them in her heart and didn't dare to think too much. If Su Fang wasn't still alive, how could the mountain guardian recognize her as his granddaughter? Xuanxin knew herself well. No matter how heaven-defying her talent was, how could she enter the eyes of a transcendent being? Chapter 2479. Whoosh! Two figures walked out of the calm void as if they had walked out from outer space. It was Su Fang and Goddess Luo, who had returned from the 9th underworld. Su Fang looked into the distance. Wind, clouds, space, and time were changing in his eyes. In that short instant, his gaze had already passed through layers of space and planes, and he saw countless god worlds and voids in his eyes. This was the astonishing change brought to Su Fang by transcending nature. At this time, the perception of a perfected sovereign far exceeded that of an ordinary sovereign. It was estimated that it was only slightly inferior to the supreme existences of the Emperor clan. Su Fang, let's find a place to rest for a few days, and then we'll think of a way to return to the Sky Beacon God world. Goddess Luo had been in the 9th underworld for many years, and she had been injured many times. She had never recovered, and she was already at the point where she could barely hold on. All right. Su Fang used his perfect senses and found the ruins of a shattered god world, and he led Goddess Luo there. As soon as they landed on the ruins, Su Fang's divine light suddenly changed slightly. The divine might of the yin and yang world surged out from his body, and it quickly enveloped him and Goddess Luo. While Goddess Luo was surprised, a figure tore through the void 1,000,000 miles away. This person seemed to be a middle-aged human cultivator, and his aura was extremely ethereal. He was actually a supreme sovereign. However, unlike human sovereigns, this middle-aged man had actually fused with the aura of death that was everywhere in the world, causing his entire body to exude an evil aura. It was very obvious that this middle-aged man was a Tao-defiant sovereign. Su Fang was not unfamiliar with this person. This Tao-defiant sovereign was one of the 3 Tao-defiant sovereigns who had pursued Su Fang in the 9th underworld, and Su Fang had lured him into Huan Shun's shattered world. Strange, it seems like someone is vaguely sensing this sovereign, but why can't I sense this person's existence? The Tao-defiant sovereign muttered to himself in puzzlement, and then he fled into the void with his doubts. Goddess Luo looked at Su Fang and was shocked. Even the supreme sovereign can't sense his existence. This is transcendence. There was a puzzled expression in Su Fang's eyes. Exalted emperors don't make an appearance rashly, but an exalted emperor from the Tao Defiance Alliance has suddenly made an appearance. Moreover, he has encountered many Tao Defiance since he left the 9th Hell. What does the Tao Defiance Alliance intend to do? The Tao Defiance Emperor was lucky because Su Fang didn't sense the magic treasures that had been taken away by the Tao Defiance Emperor. Moreover, this was the territory of the Tao Defiance Alliance. So long as he fought this Tao Defiant Emperor, then the other emperors of the Tao Defiance Alliance would be drawn over. No matter how confident Su Fang was, it was impossible for him to possess the strength to face the joint forces of numerous Emperor Realm experts after he advanced into the Overgod Realm, let alone the Tao Defiance Alliance's leader, who was almost at the Transcendence Realm. Su Fang took out the Infinity Chariot and activated it. He brought Goddess Luo into the Infinity Chariot and sat down cross-legged. QL11 Goddess Luo needed to recover, and Su Fang needed to stabilize his status as a lesser lord. Su Fang could be said to be penniless at this moment. Apart from the Infinity Chariot, Su Fang had devoured everything on the Tao Defiance Emperor that he had killed in the 10 Hell. Not a single pill was left for Su Fang. Moreover, he was obstructed by the Infinity Chariot's might, so he was unable to absorb spirit energy and world energy from nature. As a result, Su Fang could only cultivate the 9 Sun's 9 transformations. Unknowingly, Su Fang and Goddess Luo spent almost 10,000 years in the Infinity Chariot under the Infinity Chariot's might. Only when the two of them walked out of the Infinity Chariot did Goddess Luo notice that only an instant had passed in the outside world. She was amazed by the Infinity Chariot's might once more. After almost 10,000 years, Goddess Luo's injuries had mostly recovered. Such speed of recovery was extremely shocking. Su Fang swept out a Xian Guang from his palm, and a demon god was swept out of his body. This demon god was a peerless powerhouse whose cultivation base was comparable to that of a middle-rank lord. It was originally a demon that had been sealed in a forbidden land for countless years. It had only broken out of the seal during the 6th upheaval of heaven and earth. This demon god had recovered a little of its strength and left the forbidden land excitedly. It was prepared to find a god realm to devour without restraint. In the end, it was very unlucky to encounter Su Fang, who had just walked out of the 9 Hell. As a result, it was easily suppressed by Su Fang. It's best to be careful in the Tao Defiance Alliance's territory. I'll borrow your identity. After Su Fang formed a seal, he transformed into a pool of blood. With a whoosh, it swept out and enveloped the demon god. Sizzle, the pool of blood quickly seeped into the demon god's body. Although the demon god was shackled and struggling in pain, it could not escape the fate of being devoured by Su Fang. It turned into a pool of blood. Whoosh, the pool of blood quickly condensed into a physical body. It was not just the appearance. Even the aura of destiny was exactly the same as the demon god from before. Even the aura of destiny was not inferior at all. It turned out that Su Fang had used the yellow spring blood sea and the demon transfiguration art to devour the demon god and transform into another demon god after that. Goddess Luo raised her eyebrows. There was surprise in her eyes. If she had not seen it with her own eyes, she would have found it hard to believe that this demon god before her was Su Fang's transformation. Goddess Luo asked in confusion, "Why are you so careful?" The demon god that Su Fang had transformed into smiled savagely. Right now, on this side of the sky canopy, many god realms have either been destroyed by the resurrected powerhouses and demons, or they have completely surrendered to the Tao Defiance Alliance and become the Tao Defiance lackeys. Only an extremely small number of god realms are struggling at death's door. Moreover, the Tao Defiance Alliance has been making a lot of strange movements along the way. It's best to be careful. Goddess Luo also took out a black cloak and covered her face. As he spoke, his eyebrows suddenly furrowed. Someone's coming. Su Fang sensed a cultivator riding a flying sword and flying toward the broken god realm where they were. Su Fang could not help but be startled when he sensed this person's aura. Goddess Luo said indifferently, "He's just a mid-stage Tao integration cultivator. There must be something unusual about him to be able to attract your attention." Su Fang nodded and said, "That's right. This person's aura is indeed a little different." It turned out that Su Fang sensed a chaotic aura from the cultivator flying toward them. It was somewhat similar to Bai Ling and the Chaos Heavenly Monarch. Clearly, this person should be from the Chaos Heavenly Monarch's Chaos God realm. I haven't heard from Sister Bai and Brother Qingyu in a long time. And Luo, since this cultivator is from the Chaos God realm, I might be able to obtain some information about them. Su Fang and Goddess Luo flew toward that cultivator. The cultivator was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He had a purple face and looked rather dignified. Clearly, he had been in a high position for a long time. The purple-faced, middle-aged man quickly discovered Su Fang and Goddess Luo. Unexpectedly, after sensing that Su Fang was a demon expert, not only did he not flee, he even sped up and flew toward Su Fang. Su Fang was rather surprised. "Human, you're not afraid that I'll devour you?" The purple-faced, middle-aged man trembled as he knelt down. "My lord, please listen to me. I'm preparing to join the Tao Defiance Alliance, and I have a great merit to give to you. Su Fang smiled coldly. You're preparing to defy the Tao? The purple-faced, middle-aged man nodded repeatedly. That's right. Su Fang's sharp aura surged as he continued to ask, What merit do you have to give to me? The purple-faced, middle-aged man said, I'm from the Chaos Divine World. Now that the myriad worlds have submitted to the Tao Defiance Alliance, the master of the Chaos Divine World, the Chaos Heavenly Monarch, is unwilling to submit. I fled from the Chaos Divine World to join the Tao Defiance Alliance and lead experts to destroy the Chaos Divine World. Su Fang thought to himself, he really is from the Chaos Divine World. I wonder if Sister Bai, Brother Qingyu, and Luo are also in the Chaos Divine World. Then he snorted coldly. Is this the merit you said you were going to give to me? The purple-faced, middle-aged man hurriedly said, Of course not. I accidentally discovered a great secret of the Chaos Heavenly Monarch, and it's a great secret about Su Fang. Su Fang raised his eyebrows. Su Fang. Goddess Luo was also shocked and stunned. The purple-faced, middle-aged man continued. I learned that a disciple of the Chaos Heavenly Monarch is as close as family to Su Fang. He's currently in the Chaos Divine World. Although Su Fang was killed by the Tao Defying Alliance, if you can capture his family and offer them to the Tao Defying Alliance, you will definitely be rewarded handsomely. Su Fang said imposingly, I see. Bring me to the Chaos Divine World. Since he knew Bai Ling's whereabouts, Su Fang would not ignore it no matter what. He immediately ordered the purple-faced middle-aged man to tell him the space-time coordinates of the Chaos Divine World, and then sucked it into the space of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. The purple-faced middle-aged man was in the space of the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. He was fantasizing about obtaining a great reward, and then borrowing the power of the demon race experts to kill the Chaos Heavenly Monarch and replace him. However, he did not expect what kind of misfortune awaited him. Su Fang and Goddess Luo went straight to the Chaos Divine World. About a month later, Su Fang and Goddess Luo arrived at a great world. It was different from the great worlds that Su Fang had seen before. This great world was extremely vast, and it was formed by thousands of small worlds. Moreover, the energy of the divine world was very chaotic, and there were chaotic areas where space-time turbulence intersected. The Chaos Divine World. Su Fang used his great perfection ability and the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to project his sensing power. It instantly enveloped the entire vast divine world. Buzz. Buzz. Indeed, in the main world of the Chaos Divine World, Su Fang sensed the fate aura of Luo, Bai Ling, Qingyu, and his former guard Fan Ming. However, in the next moment, Su Fang exploded with monstrous, murderous intent. It turned out that almost half of the cultivators, big goblin, and mortals in the thousands of small worlds in the Chaos Divine World had been slaughtered. Only the women and cultivators were shackled, or were being devoured by the demon race experts. In the main world of the Chaos Divine World, thousands of demon race and Tao-defiant cultivators were attacking the barrier of the main world fiercely. It would not be long before the barrier was broken. What surprised and puzzled Su Fang was that there was a demon monkey attacking the main world. It was the undying blood spirit that he refined with the demon monkey's consciousness. Chapter 2480. Su Fang was pleasantly surprised that he'd finally found Luo, Bai Ling, and Qingyu. However, Su Fang wasn't surprised that the undying blood spirit had betrayed him. But when he thought about it carefully, there was nothing to be surprised about. Why? The undying blood spirit was controlled by Su Fang's yang soul. Su Fang's main body had perished in the 10 underworlds, and he'd severed his karma with nature. So, when his main body perished, all his clones and yang souls perished along with it. The undying blood spirit had been created by Su Fang with his own blood and the monkey demon's remnant divine sense. Su Fang's yang soul had perished, so he'd lost control over the monkey demon's divine sense. So, it wasn't surprising that a rebellion had occurred. However, Su Fang was very puzzled that the undying blood spirit had actually fallen into the hands of the Tao Defiance, and was even controlled by them. Su Fang couldn't be bothered about anything else since it was related to Luo, Bai Ling, and Qin Yu's safety, and he immediately flew off with Goddess Luo. In the blink of an eye, Su Fang and Goddess Luo appeared outside the barrier of the Chaos Divine World. Devil experts. Su Fang and Goddess Luo's appearance shocked all the devils and Tao Defiance who were attacking the barrier, and they all stopped. Su Fang's cold and evil gaze flashed past all the devils and Tao Defiance. There weren't many devils and Tao Defiance attacking the Chaos Divine World, and there were less than 100,000 of them. However, there was no lack of experts amongst them. Of course, that was only relatively speaking. The strongest devil was a lower-rank lord with a handsome and devilish appearance. On the other hand, the strongest on the Tao Defiance side was an intermediate lord. Moreover, the monkey demon's strength had shockingly reached the level of a lower-rank lord. Moreover, it had become even more evil and ferocious. Probably even an intermediate lord would have no choice but to use their full strength against it. A single lord could sweep through a major world, not to mention that they had 3 lords in total. It was already a miracle that the Chaos Divine World had been able to persist until now. The appearance of Su Fang caused a commotion. As for Heavenly Maiden Luo, she'd been overlooked by the Devil Race and Tao Defiance. The Devil Race liked to capture human women to use as breeding tools, so it wasn't strange for a human woman to be by the side of such an expert from the Devil Race. A young Tao Defiant shouted loudly, "Which devil expert are you?" Su Fang's eyes flashed with killing intent. Who would have thought that at this moment, the demon monkey looked at Su Fang, its eyes burning with violent and evil blood flames. A divine shadow pounced on Su Fang, turning into a giant rod that was hundreds of meters long. With a terrifying momentum that could shatter the sky, it smashed down on Su Fang. "You dare to betray your master? Aren't you afraid that this lord will destroy you?" The voice of Su Fang's primordial spirit resounded in the demon monkey's divine aperture. Immediately, an astonishing amount of devilish aura gushed out from the monkey's body. It wasn't just devilish aura, the energy of Yin and Yang had been fused with the energy of the Order of the Heaven Tao, and it condensed into a ghastly chain that was covered in devilish energy. Swish! It coiled around the rod that was smashing down towards the demon monkey. After that, a wave of devilish energy surged, causing the rod to shatter layer by layer. However, the might of the devilish chain didn't weaken at all. Coiled towards the demon monkey like a black python, and it instantly coiled around the demon monkey. No matter how the demon monkey roared and struggled, it was unable to escape its shackles. Su Fang waved his hand and sucked the demon monkey into the space within his body. If the demon monkey's body hadn't been created by Su Fang with his own blood, and if the demon monkey's damaged divine sense had been left behind by Su Fang from the large world until now, then Su Fang would have been able to annihilate the demon monkey with ease and wouldn't have had to waste such effort at all. The young Tao Defiant shouted coldly in a domineering manner, "You dare to shackle this young master's slave? You're courting death." Su Fang said coldly, "Who the hell are you? How dare you make a fuss in front of me?" The young Tao Defiant grunted coldly, I don't care who you are. Being rude to me is a crime punishable by death." Monstrous devilish energy and divine might swept out from Su Fang, and it enveloped the young Tao Defiant and the other Tao Defiants around him, including the intermediate lord. After that, Su Fang strode forward. His figure was propelled by divine might, and he instantly teleported in front of the young Tao Defiant. "You're courting death." The intermediate lord flashed forward. He formed seals with both hands, and layers of perilous defenses instantly appeared before him. QL-11 boom, boom, boom. The mountain range shattered layer by layer under Su Fang's attack. After that, dense devilish tattoos surged onto Su Fang's body. The formidable physical strength of the demon clan fused with his body at great perfection, and he launched a leaping strike at the Intermediate Lord. The Intermediate Lord didn't have time to unleash his divine ability. The space between his brows suddenly split open, and a phantom flashed out. It formed an enormous stone stele that was 3,000 meters tall. It was his heavenly Tao avatar. The Tao Defiant had defied the heavenly Tao, so his heavenly Tao avatar no longer possessed the aura of the heavenly Tao. Instead, it was filled with a dense aura of death and viciousness. It was like a tombstone. Break. The body that Su Fang had reconstructed after transcending was comparable to an Emperor Realm powerhouse. Now that he had fused his body at great perfection with the body of a demon clan powerhouse, how terrifying would the might of a single punch be? Boom! A single punch blasted the Intermediate Lord's stone steel Dharma avatar into pieces, and then it was his physical defense. His divine body immediately exploded into blood and gore, but his young god teleported away. Immediately after that, Su Fang stretched out his hand and grabbed the young Tao Defiant. The devilish qi within him surged out and sizzled as it corroded the young Tao Defiant. In less than 10 breaths of time, the young Tao Defiant had been completely devoured, and then the devilish qi swept the young Tao Defiant into his body. The remaining Tao Defiants dispersed in an uproar. Against such a powerful demon god, even Tao Defiants of the same rank had been easily killed. No matter how many of them there were, it was impossible to make up for the huge gap in strength. Just because of a disagreement, he had shackled a demon monkey that was comparable to a lord, destroyed the body of an intermediate lord, and even devoured a young Tao Defiant with a special identity. He was so domineering and so brutal. He had vividly displayed the nature of the demon clan. Such awe-inspiring might caused all the experts of the demon clan to reveal expressions of reverence. Su Fang's fierce gaze didn't reduce in the slightest as he gazed at the handsome young man from the demon clan. The young man from the demon clan bowed and said, "I'm the Northern Heavens Devil King under Devil Saint Fu Sha's command. May I know where you're from?" Devil Saint Fu Sha? Su Fang was stunned. The resurrected Devil Saint that had pursued him in the 10 Hell seemed to be called Devil Saint Fu Sha. After that, he asked coldly, "The resurrected Devil Saint of the Tao Defiance Alliance, Devil Saint Fu Sha?" The young man from the demon clan called the Northern Heavens Devil King heaved a sigh of relief in his heart, and then he answered, "My master is Devil Saint Fu Sha, who's second only to the Alliance Master of the Tao Defiance Alliance. May I know where you're from?" Su Fang said indifferently, "My name is the Unfettered Devil Master. I've been sealed by the humans for countless years, and I've just charged out of the seal not too long ago." "So you're a supreme ancient devil that surpasses the primordial era." The Northern Heavens Devil King looked at Su Fang with even more reverence in his eyes. Devils that could be sealed were all peerless great devils that were very difficult to kill. Such devil race experts had rather high statuses in the demon clan. After pondering for a moment, the Northern Heavens Devil King continued, "The Tao Defiance Alliance is about to unify the myriad of worlds, and my master will be the ruler of the myriad of worlds in the future. Since you're so powerful, why don't you submit to my master? You'll definitely become the ruler of a star field in the future, and countless humans and big goblin will be provided for you to cultivate. Submit to Devil Saint Fu Sha." Su Fang sneered in his heart. Devil Saint Fu Sha was very powerful, and at least one of the Heaven Supervisor token, Prison Suppressing Codex, an ancestral devil blood plate that had fallen into the hands of the Tao Defiance Alliance had fallen into his hands. Su Fang was about to retrieve his magic treasure, so he could use this opportunity to get close to Devil Saint Fu Sha. However, Su Fang was naturally most concerned about his friends in the Chaos Divine Realm. His face darkened and he said coldly, "We'll talk about submitting to Devil Saint Fu Sha later. Let me ask you, why are you attacking the Chaos Divine Realm?" The Northern Heavens Devil King said, "Recently, The Tao Defiance Alliance is preparing to attack the Sky Beacon Divine Realm with full force, so they're gathering all the human cultivators on their side to serve as cannon fodder for the Tao Defiance Alliance. As for those who refuse to submit to the Tao Defiance Alliance, they're going to be annihilated. The Chaos Divine Realm is one of them. Could it be that my lord has something to do with the Chaos Divine Realm? Su Fang snorted. Of course I have something to do with it. The cultivators of the Chaos Divine Realm have long since submitted to me, but you're attacking the Chaos Divine Realm. What do you think of me? The Northern Heavens Devil King was shocked, and he said doubtfully, Is there such a thing? Why didn't the Heavenly Monarch of Chaos mention it? You'll naturally understand when I call them out. Su Fang's figure flashed, and he arrived in front of the barrier. Then, he transmitted his soul into the barrier. When the experts of the Tao Defiance Alliance attacked the Chaos Divine Realm this time, Law, who was the strongest, was caught off guard and was heavily injured by the demon monkey. The Heavenly Monarch of Chaos was also injured by the Tao Defiance at the level of an intermediate sovereign. In the end, he had no choice but to retreat to the Master Realm. They knew that they would not be able to escape this time, so they were prepared to fight to the death. They were prepared to make a final gamble and see if they could luckily escape with Qing Yu's speed. The voice of Su Fang's soul resounded in Law, Bai Ling, and Qing Yu's minds at the same time. It was easy to imagine how surprised and shocked they were. Su Fang did not explain much. Quickly come out and submit to me, and then I'll take you away. About half an hour later, a middle-aged man with a square face and an unshaven beard led over 100 human cultivators. They were all the higher-ups of the Chaos Divine Realm. Law, Qing Yu, and Bai Ling were not among them. They had probably been taken into the Heavenly Monarch of Chaos space. Greetings, Master. The Heavenly Monarch of Chaos and the other higher-ups of the Chaos Divine Realm knelt and bowed to Su Fang at the same time. The Northern Heavens Devil King and other demon experts finally believed in Su Fang completely. Northern Heavens Devil King, now you should believe that the Chaos Divine Realm belongs to me, right? You and those Tao Defiance will have to give me an explanation, Su Fang said murderously. As soon as he finished speaking, a wave of demonic aura rose and swept in all directions in an instant, enveloping the entire Chaos Divine Realm, including more than 1,000 smaller realms, in divine might. All the cultivators who killed my subordinates must die. Su Fang's murderous voice spread throughout the Chaos Divine Realm. Swish. Swish. Chapter 2481. The Northern Heavens Demon King and the Demon Clan experts under his command became ferocious all of a sudden. Su Fang had killed so many Demon Clan experts in an instant right in front of them. How could their expressions be pleasant? However, the powerful strength that Su Fang had displayed not only far exceeded their own, but also the strength of an intermediate Master God, reaching the height of an upper Master God. It would be easy for him to kill all of them. The Demon Clan was evil and cruel by nature, but they had always revered the strong. Under Su Fang's fierce and murderous gaze, the Demon Clan experts' anger instantly dissipated and was replaced by respect. The Heavenly Lord of Chaos and the other higher-ups of the chaotic divine realm were all excited and delighted. They looked at Su Fang with eyes full of gratitude. However, the Heavenly Lord of Chaos's gaze was somewhat complicated. When Su Fang was still an ant in a small world, he was already the overlord of a great world. Now, he was like an ant in front of Su Fang, and even needed Su Fang to save him. Naturally, he was not in a good mood. The Northern Heavens Demon King suppressed the anger in his heart and said to Su Fang with a smile, "Lord Demon Master, I wonder if you would consider my previous proposal?" Su Fang had displayed such powerful strength. If he could recruit him under Demon Saint Fu Sha, the Northern Heavens Demon King would naturally make a great contribution to Demon Saint Fu Sha. The rewards and future status he would receive would naturally be amazing. Compared to the benefits he would receive, the deaths of his subordinates were nothing. Su Fang nodded. It's my honor to be able to serve a supreme devil saint. I hope you can introduce me to him. The Northern Heavens Demon King was overjoyed. My master has 12 demon kings under him, and I am only ranked 11th. If Lord Demon Master joins the Demon Saint with your strength, you will be able to rank among the top 5. Lord Demon Saint will definitely put you in an important position. Su Fang took the cultivators of the chaotic divine realm, including the cultivators of the small worlds, the big goblin, and even the mortals into his inner world. His internal world was a universe of its own. Even if he placed the entire universe into his internal world, it would still be able to contain it. A mere god realm was naturally nothing to him. Su Fang took Goddess Luo into his internal world as well. Goddess Luo had killed countless experts of the Tao-defying alliance in the lifeless prairie. Now that she was about to enter the core of the Tao-defying alliance, it was inevitable that someone would recognize her through her aura. After that, Su Fang followed the Northern Heavens Devil King and flew towards the sky screen. On the way, Su Fang stripped off her yang spirit and entered her inner world to meet with Luo, Bai Ling, Qingyu, and the others. Brother, we thought you were already dead. This sister is so sad. As soon as she saw Su Fang's yang spirit, the girl that Bai Ling had transformed into flew up and hugged Su Fang's young spirit, crying and laughing. From the small world until now, Bai Ling's strength had increased tremendously, but her personality had not changed much. She was still the same as a human girl. Qingyu laughed heartily. I knew this kid was lucky. With the luck brought by the purple Qi Dharma spirit, even if he wanted to die, it would not be so easy. Bai Ling did not believe it. Luo Zai looked like a heroic and mighty middle-aged man. Looking at Su Fang's young spirit, he was shocked, surprised, and gratified. Who would have thought that an insignificant cultivator from the small world could become a peerless figure who could decide the life and death of the universe? Moreover, Luo also sensed a transcendent aura from Su Fang, which forced him to look up. Luo Zai sighed in his heart. It has only been 300,000 years. Such a peerless figure has never appeared before. Extraordinary, very extraordinary. Su Fang stepped forward and hugged Qingyu tightly. To Su Fang, Bai Ling and Qingyu's position in his heart was almost the same as his father, Su Yaotian. He had just come back from the dead and was reunited with them. Naturally, it was a great surprise. Then, he looked at Luo. Su Fang's eyes were full of respect. Luo, we meet again. Luo showed a depressed expression and snorted. I was saved by you again. Where should I put my face as the Azura King? Compared to you, I really feel depressed. Killing a Lord God is like killing a chicken. Since when has there been a monster like you in the universe? These words caused Bai Ling and Qingyu to burst into laughter. Your Highness Su Fang. A cultivator stepped forward to greet Su Fang. It was Su Fang's former guard, Fan Ming. Su Fang nodded and said, You have suffered all these years. I, Su Fang, will not treat you unfairly in the future. I can't guarantee anything else, but I can help you to become a Lord God. Fan Ming was surprised and happy. He was originally a disciple of the Yuan Tiangong sovereign and followed Su Fang. He had also staked his future on Su Fang. Now that he had received Su Fang's promise that there was hope for him to become a Lord God, how could he not be surprised? Then, Luo slowly told Su Fang about his experiences over the years. It turned out that in the lifeless prairie, Luo, Bai Ling, and Qingyu left the lifeless prairie to avoid being hunted down by Azuras. They were continuously hunted down by Azuras countless times. Fortunately, Su Fang had controlled many Azuras in the lifeless prairie and planted them in the Azura God clan, helping Luo avoid being hunted down many times. When the news of Su Fang's death came, they fell into complete despair. Thus, under Bai Ling's lead, they came to the Chaos Divinity. As the heavenly river had been corrupted, the order of the heavenly Tao was in chaos. The resurrected powerhouses, demons, and other powerhouses from the dark world had almost destroyed the myriad world. Because the chaos divinity was located in a chaotic spacetime plane, it had luckily escaped the disaster. Unexpectedly, the monkey demon had suddenly lost control when Su Fong died. After leaving Luo, it had been controlled by the Tao Defiant. Its strength had skyrocketed, and it was comparable to a middle-rank Lord God. It had led the Tao Defiants and demons to attack the chaos divinity. If Su Fong had not encountered the purple-masked cultivator and come to the chaos divinity, Luo, Bai Ling, and Qingyu would not have been able to escape this disaster. Su Fong also briefly told them about his experiences. Naturally, he skimmed over some of the matters regarding transcendence. When they heard that Su Fong had killed the evil dominator of Heavenly Capital and Dongsha Mashing of the Tao Defiance Alliance, Luo, Bai Ling, and Qingyu were shocked to the core. When they heard that Su Fong had died in the 10 underworlds, then come back from the dead and become a Lord God in one go, they were worried for Su Fong. In the end, they exclaimed in admiration. Luo sighed and said, "There is indeed great fortune in great danger. However, if it wasn't for supreme providence, how could one have reached such a stage?" Su Fong said proudly, "This time I've come back from the dead. Now I have the strength to fight against venerable sovereigns. Even the supreme existences of the imperial people dare not underestimate me. I can be considered to be standing at the peak of the myriad world. Even if the world is destroyed in the future, I have the ability to protect myself." Before he had become a Lord God, Su Fong had been able to kill venerable sovereigns with the help of magic treasures. Now that he had become a Lord God, he could fight against supreme venerable sovereigns even without magic treasures. In the future, even if the world and the universe were destroyed, Su Fong was confident that even if he could not reach the level of a transcendent-like mystery, he could still bring his family and friends to transcend the shackles of the world and the universe and go to the outer space. Bai Ling also said with a smile, "Humph, we have been oppressed in the myriad worlds for so many years. Brother, you have become so powerful. It's time for us to hold our heads high." Luo smiled bitterly and said, "I, the Azura King, will have to rely on you to make a living in the future." Bai Ling laughed and said, "Senior Luo, you are jealous now." "Haha," Luo touched the tip of his nose and said, "Yes, I am jealous of this kid. How can this kid not make people jealous?" Su Fong said, "Luo, you may be able to stand at the peak of the myriad worlds in the future. You may even be able to travel the chaotic universe beyond the heavens together." The peak of the myriad worlds, traveling the chaotic universe. Luo's eyes suddenly lit up and then dimmed. Unlike Bai Ling and Qingyu, Luo was the king of the Azura Divine clan. He had his own pride. Of course, he longed to set foot on the peak. However, that depended on his own talent and ability, not the help of outsiders. QL11 The Azura Divine clan once had a peak master, but that was a long time ago. Luo was quite confident in his talent, but he was not confident that he could surpass the most outstanding master in the history of the Azura Divine clan. He had never thought of setting foot on the peak. Su Fong laughed and condensed a vivid fist-sized reddish-brown fruit with his mind. "Luo, with this, why can't you surpass the Azura Senior Master and reach the peak of the myriad worlds?" Luo's eyes bloomed with a terrifying bloody light. That is the legendary fruit of sin. Although the Devil Clan, the Big Goblin, and some evil existences improved faster than humans, there were very few who truly reached the peak of the Great Tao. This was also the reason why humans could become the masters of the myriad world. That was because karma existed in the heavenly Tao. Killing living beings was an act that went against the heavenly Tao. Therefore, the more one killed, the greater the shackles of the heavenly Tao would be. The fruit of sin could wash away the karma brought about by killing. This also meant that Azura experts like Luo also had a chance to set foot on the peak of the myriad world. Luo said with a trembling voice, "If I devour this fruit of sin, I will definitely surpass my seniors and set foot on the peak that my clan has never reached. Su Fang, where did you see this fruit of sin? No matter the cost, I will obtain this fruit of sin. Su Fang laughed. Since I have seen such a spiritual item, how can I miss it? This fruit of sin is naturally in my hands, but it is not in my hands right now. I must return to the Sky Beacon God realm to obtain it. Luo, wait patiently for a few more days. Even if I have to wait for another era, I am willing to wait. Luo laughed heroically. He was in an incomparably good mood. On the way, Su Fang also conversed with the Northern Heavens Demon King. Su Fang also learned a shocking piece of news from the Northern Heavens Demon King. The Tao Defiance Alliance had recently begun to gather human cultivators on a large scale in preparation for the final attack on the Sky Curtain. Moreover, the Northern Heavens Demon King was full of confidence. He was certain that the Tao Defiance Alliance would be able to break through the Sky Curtain and kill their way into the Sky Beacon God realm. About 50 years later, the Northern Heavens Demon King brought Su Fang to a god realm not far from the Sky Curtain. Chapter 2482. Over-god powerhouses could open up spacetime in the world and create a divine world with their divine ability. Emperor powerhouses could naturally do it with ease. However, the divine world created by Emperor powerhouses was even more powerful. Just like the Yuan Tiangong, it was like a universe that transcended the world. Of course, the divine world created by Emperor powerhouses was still attached to the world and couldn't truly break away from the world. If one truly reached the level of transcendence, they could transcend the world and create a divine world or even a universe in the chaotic void outside the world. Demon Saint Fu Sha was a top Emperor powerhouse in the Tao Defiance Alliance. Opening up a spacetime and creating a demon world was an easy task for him. The Northern Heavens Demon King took out a black token. After activating it, a wave of demon chi fell into the void. A moment later, a wave of demon chi rolled and condensed into an array door. The Northern Heavens Demon King warned carefully, Lord Unfettered Demon Master, after entering the Fu Sha demon world, you must restrain yourself. The status of our demon race in the Fu Sha demon world is far inferior to those resurrected demon clans. When you encounter those resurrected demon kings, you must endure when necessary. The demon race in the Fu Sha demon world was divided into two camps. One was the demon race from the world of darkness, and the other was the resurrected Tao Defiant. Since Devil Saint Fu Sha himself was a Tao Defiant Devil Saint, although the number of devils from the dark world far exceeded the number of resurrected devil saints, their status in the Fu Sha devil world was far inferior to the resurrected devil gods. Although the Northern Heavens Demon King was one of the 12 demon kings under Demon Saint Fu Sha, his status was the lowest among the demon kings. It was no wonder that he couldn't wait to recruit Su Fang when he saw Su Fang's strength. Naturally, he wanted to pull Su Fang under Demon Saint Fu Sha to be his helper. However, Demon Saint Fu Sha's strength was there for all to see. Coupled with his status in the Tao Defiance Alliance, the demon race powerhouses still flocked to him. Su Fang snorted coldly and didn't comment. Just as the Northern Heavens Devil King was about to warn Su Fang, more than a dozen Devil Clan experts flew out from the array formation. Not only that, all of them were resurrected demonic tribe powerhouses. The demonic tribe powerhouse in the lead wore a black cloak and a ferocious ghost mask on his face. His ability was extraordinary, comparable to that of a middle-rank lord. 6 Evils Demon King. The Northern Heavens Devil King's expression changed, and all the experts of the devil race behind him were horrified when they saw the Tao Defiant who led the group. Bait Sang, why aren't you kneeling when you see me? The eyes of the 6 demon kings from the Tao Defiant devil race flashed with cold devilish light as he spoke in a ghastly voice. The Northern Heavens Devil King hurriedly bowed, while the experts under his command knelt down one after another. I told you to kneel. Didn't you hear me? How dare you disobey me? A devilish light flashed from the eyes of the six-element demon king, and it turned into a black palm print that landed on the body of the Northern Heavens demon king. The Northern Heavens demon king didn't dare to evade. He could only endure the attack of the six-element demon king. Immediately, he spat out a mouthful of blood and knelt on the ground. What a domineering and brutal six-element demon king! Su Fang watched this scene coldly, and he naturally didn't have any intention to lend a hand. The Northern Heavens Devil King had introduced the experts under Devil Saint Fu Sha's command on the way to the devil world of Fu Sha. The six-element Demon King was one of the 12 great Devil Kings under Devil Saint Fu Sha's command, and he was ranked at the 9th position. Even though he was ranked 2 ranks higher than the Northern Heavens Devil King, he was a devil god that had been resurrected, and he was rather trusted by Devil Saint Fu Sha. Moreover, he'd once killed a human higher-ranked chief god, and he'd even devoured 3 Yuan Tiangong earthly realm geniuses in the lifeless prairie. Even though he couldn't be considered to be one of the top 10 experts in the lifeless prairie, he was still a ferocious and formidable devil. Coupled with his brutal nature, the Northern Heavens Devil King had suffered greatly at his hands on numerous occasions in the past. So, the Northern Heavens Devil King was extremely fearful of him. Such trash dares to be ranked as one of the 12 great Devil Kings with me? The six-element Demon King snorted disdainfully at the Northern Heavens Devil King. Then, he looked at Su Fang with eyes that were filled with evil and brutality. "Why don't you kneel after seeing me?" The Northern Heavens Devil King secretly transmitted a message to Su Fang with his primordial spirit. "Lord Devil King, bear with it for a while. After meeting Lord Devil Saint, the six-element Demon King won't dare to humiliate you." However, Su Fang acted as if he hadn't heard anything. He looked at the six-element Demon King and replied coldly, "Who do you think you are? Are you worthy of making me kneel?" The six-element Demon King was stunned for a moment, and then he laughed maniacally. The resurrected devil god behind him also laughed without restraint. "Since you don't want to kneel before me, I'll devour you. Then, you don't have to kneel anymore." Dense baleful aura and demonic aura spread out from the six-element Demon King's cloak, and he was about to launch a terrifying attack at Su Fang. Suddenly a Tao-defiant big goblin broke through the air with monstrous demonic aura and deathly aura. It was a 300-meter-tall monster with a wolf head and a human body. Its body was emitting an extremely majestic aura of vitality. However, the wolf head's flesh was rotten, and there were even bones in some places. It was emitting an astonishing deathly aura. There were no eyeballs in its empty eyes, only dense deathly aura surging. Lang Ao. All the devil race experts, including the arrogant six-element Demon King, had a sudden change in expression. Only the six-element Demon King was still calm, while the other devil race experts couldn't help but tremble. The Northern Heavens Devil King was even more terrified. Obviously, he knew the purpose of this resurrected wolf demon. The six-element Demon King flew forward and said respectfully, "Lord Lang Ao, why are you here?" Lang Ao snorted and then looked at Su Fang. "You devil race are so daring. You even dare to kill Emperor Ku Xian's disciple. I'm here today for him." "He killed Emperor Ku Xian's disciple? He's courting death." The six-element Demon King shot a murderous glance at Su Fang, then said to Lang Ao, "He's not Lord Fu Sha's subordinate. Lord Lang Ao can deal with him as you wish." Lang Ao? Su Fang thought of Lang Xiao, one of the top 10 experts that he killed in the lifeless prairie. The Northern Heavens Devil King secretly transmitted a message to Su Fang. "Lord, be careful. This Lang Ao is an expert under Emperor Ku Xian. He and Lang Xiao, one of the top 10 experts of the lifeless prairie, were originally peerless big goblin born from the same body. They fell together and were resurrected together." Su Fang replied in astonishment, "Why is Lang Ao's strength so much weaker than Lang Ao's? Lord also knows Lang Xiao?" "That's right, Lang Xiao was once one of the top 10 experts of the lifeless prairie. It's normal for Lord to know of his fame. Lang Ao and Lang Shao were born from the same body. Lang Shao was killed by the human genius Su Fang, and Lang Zhao's strength fell greatly. Therefore, he had no choice but to rely on Emperor Ku Xian. So that's how it is. Su Fang smiled embarrassedly. Even Lang Shao had died at his hands, so why would he be afraid of Lang Ao? As for Imperial Exalt Ku Xian, Su Fang had fought him in the 10 Hell as well. It was that human Imperial Exalt who'd been revived by the Tao Defiant, Qing Wei, under Su Fang's control, had been blasted apart, and only his Yang soul had been left alive. Even though Tao Defiants were experts that had fallen a long time ago, they would still choose geniuses from human cultivators for the sake of nurturing their own forces. They would assist the Tao Defiants and take them in as disciples to be fostered. It was similar to the sex amongst human cultivators. Never had he imagined that the young Tao Defiant that he killed in the Chaos God domain would be a disciple of Emperor Ku Xian. Die, you arrogant bastard! Lang Ao howled furiously, and then the image of a wolf head swiftly condensed and pounced at Su Fang. A mere revived wolf demon isn't enough. Emperor Ku Xian is more like it. Su Fang sneered disdainfully. Black demonic chi swirled in his eyes, as if there was a black hole that could devour the world hidden in his eyes. The devouring power of the primordial spirit swept out and enveloped Lang Ao in an instant. After becoming a lord, and especially after going on a mental journey, the power of Su Fang's nascent soul had increased accordingly. It was now comparable to a venerable emperor's. Now, even without his second nascent soul, Su Fang's nascent soul could use Night Demon's enchantment soul assimilation seal. It was enough to shake a venerable emperor's divine aperture and even destroy their nascent soul. His second nascent soul was still fusing with the Lord of the Sky Wheel. Once he devoured Night Demon, whose nascent soul was extremely powerful, even the supreme existences of the imperial people would find it difficult to shake Su Fang's nascent soul. His second nascent soul could directly crush an ordinary venerable emperor's nascent soul. Lang Ao was only an upper-rank lord. Moreover, he was a revived big goblin. How could he resist Su Fang's nascent soul divine ability? Lang Ao let out a blood-curdling scream. His divine aperture's defenses were instantly shattered, and a shadow was forcibly sucked out of his divine aperture. Then, he was crushed into pieces by Su Fang's nascent soul divine power vortex. Lang Ao's attack on Su Fang quickly dissipated. His huge body collapsed to the ground with a loud crash, and his nascent soul was destroyed. Even if he used the divine ability of the Advent Life Reversal Scripture, it would be difficult for him to revive again. Instant kill. All the demon tribe powerhouses were dumbfounded. A revived demon god that was comparable to an upper-rank lord. They found it hard to believe that a revived demon god that was comparable to an upper-rank lord and had once possessed the powerful abilities of a peak lord level was killed so easily. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. All the demon tribe powerhouses looked at Su Fang. Their eyes were filled with reverence as if they were facing a devil saint. The Northern Heavens Demon King was surprised and delighted. He shouted loudly, "My Lord Demon Lord is mighty!" The Demon King of 6 manifestations glanced at Su Fang with a fearful gaze. Then, he led his subordinates and was about to leave. Su Fang said coldly, "You've offended me. Are you planning to leave just like that?" The Demon King of 6 manifestations had no choice but to turn around. He gritted his teeth and bowed to Su Fang. "Please forgive me for offending you earlier." Su Fang shouted domineeringly, "Kneel!" Immediately, his nascent soul divine power erupted and enveloped the Demon King of 6 manifestations. In any case, the Demon King of 6 manifestations was an intermediate lord. His nascent soul was extremely powerful. However, under Su Fang's nascent soul divine power, he felt as if his divine aperture and nascent soul were about to collapse. His body could not help but kneel before Su Fang. I've just arrived in the demon world of hidden evil, so I won't kill you today. However, if I don't give you some punishment, you'll think I'm easy to bully. Chapter 2483. Lord Demon Master, please forgive me. The arrogant and despotic Six Elements Demon King was now lying on the ground like a dog wagging its tail. The Northern Heavens Devil King and the experts of the Devil Clan under his command were all shocked, but they were also incomparably happy and elated. Northern Heavens Demon King, let's go. Su Fang ignored Six Elements Demon King and flew towards the array gate of the hidden evil demon world. The Northern Heavens Demon King glanced at Six Elements Demon King and smiled proudly. He quickly flew forward to lead the way for Su Fang. Carefree Demon Master, I'll make you wish you were dead. Devil flames burned in Six Elements Demon King's eyes. They were filled with anger, hatred, and endless humiliation. Su Fang entered the array gate and was enveloped by a distorted divine aura. When everything returned to normal, he arrived at a world filled with monstrous devil aura. The sky was covered by a layer of bloody light. The earth, mountains, and forests were all black. The aura of the entire devil world was not only evil and violent, but also filled with the aura of life. This world was the devil world that Devil Saint Fu Sha had created with his divine ability. The Northern Heavens Demon King said, Lord Carefree Demon Master, please follow me to the Devil Saint Hall to meet Lord Demon Saint. Su Fang asked, Lord Demon Saint is in the Devil Saint Hall? The entire hidden evil demon world is Lord Demon Saint's world. Lord Demon Saint's will is the will of the heavens. As long as Lord Demon Saint merges with the hidden evil demon world, the hidden evil demon world will become Lord Demon Saint's world. I understand. Ordinary master gods could create worlds for gods to live in and cultivate in. However, these worlds were dead and had to constantly absorb the world's aura from nature. Otherwise, the world's spirit energy would slowly dry up. However, venerable emperors were different. The worlds they created had their own heavenly laws. Although they could not surpass heaven and earth, they were independent worlds. Furthermore, venerable emperors could merge their worlds with the world in their bodies. This was the strength of a supreme venerable emperor. The Northern Heavens Devil King continued, Lord Devil Saint Fuming Evil's true body has been going out a lot lately. It's obvious that he's preparing to deal the final blow to the human cultivators. He wants to break through the sky curtain and destroy the sky beacon god realm in one fell swoop. It wasn't a secret that the Tao Defiance were preparing to launch their final attack. However, no one knew why the Tao Defiance were so confident that they could even break through the sky curtain created by Transcendence. Su Fang probed further. I heard that Lord Devil Saint participated in the killing of the human, Su Fang, and he made great contributions to the Tao Defiance Alliance. So, the Alliance Master definitely rewarded you heavily, right? The news of Su Fang's death was widely publicized by the Tao Defiant. They claimed that Su Fang had been killed by Demon Saint Fu Sha and other venerable sovereigns, and the demon race of Fu Sha Demon World was proud of it. Now that Su Fang mentioned it, the Northern Heavens Devil King beamed with joy. Of course, I heard that Su Fang possessed the strength of a venerable sovereign and the Origin Sacred Mirror. However, how could he be a match for Lord Devil Saint? After bragging for a long time, the Northern Heavens Devil King finally said, because he made great contributions by killing Su Fang, the Alliance Master bestowed one of Su Fang's peerless treasures to my master, Devil Saint Fu Sha. Su Fang's deep eyes flashed. What kind of treasure is that? It's a supreme nascent divinity treasure of the demon race, the ancestral devil blood plate. The ancestral devil blood plate? Su Fang was surprised. He didn't expect the ancestral devil blood plate to fall into the hands of Devil Saint Fu Sha. It seemed that coming to the devil world of Fu Sha was the right choice. Then, he asked in surprise, according to what I know, Su Fang has many treasures that surpass the ancestral devil blood plate. Why did Lord Devil Saint only obtain the ancestral devil blood plate? Although the ancestral devil blood plate is extraordinary, many devil saint experts of the devil race have one. It's not a unique and powerful treasure. The Northern Heavens Devil King said, "You don't know this. I heard that the two great Heaven Law divine artifacts, the Heaven Supervisor Token, the Prison Suppressing Codex, and the Universe Chariot were all taken by Lord Alliance Master. The ancestral devil blood plate is the only treasure that Lord Alliance Master bestowed to the other venerable sovereigns of the Tao Defiance." Su Fong sneered in his heart. After he came back from the dead and killed the venerable sovereigns of the Tao Defiance, the Universe Chariot had already fallen into his hands. Moreover, Lord Alliance Master personally asked for 10 drops of blood essence from Lord Devil Ancestor to increase the power of the ancestral devil blood plate. During this period of time, the top 6 Devil Kings under Lord Devil Saint are all in the depths of the Devil Saint Mountain and are taking turns to inject devil chi into the ancestral devil blood plate. When the ancestral devil blood plate's power increases again, it will become the #1 nascent soul-type treasure in the myriad of worlds. The Northern Heavens Devil King's words shocked and stunned Su Fong. The #1 nascent soul-type treasure in the myriad of worlds? Soon after, his heart burned with passion. "This time, I have come to Devil Saint Fu Sha. No matter what, I must get the ancestral devil blood plate. Devil Saint Fu Sha, I really don't know how to thank you." While Su Fong was conversing with the Northern Heavens Devil King, they arrived at a majestic black mountain in the depths of the Fu Sha Devil World. The Northern Heavens Devil King brought Su Fong into a majestic palace at the peak of the mountain. Inside the palace, a devil statue of Devil Saint Fu Sha was enshrined. The Northern Heavens Devil King knelt down respectfully before the devil statue. An aura of nothingness suddenly descended and fused with the devil statue. The devil statue instantly came to life and opened its eyes to look down at the Northern Heavens Devil King. "Northern Heavens, what's the matter?" The Northern Heavens Devil King trembled as he told the devil statue about Su Fong's willingness to submit and Su Fong's origins and strength. "Unfettered Devil Master?" Devil light flickered in the devil statue's eyes as if it could deduce Su Fong's past and present life, past and future. Su Fong hurriedly knelt down and bowed with a trembling appearance. "This devil saint vaguely remembers your aura. You should be Man Tian, one of the brute devil ancestors, and not some unfettered devil master." Devil Saint Fu Sha was actually able to see through Su Fong and not some unfettered devil master with a single glance. However, it was difficult for him to see that this devil expert in front of him was actually Su Fong's transformation. It wasn't because the demon transformation technique was so powerful that even a devil saint expert couldn't see through it. Instead, it was because Su Fong's fate aura had transcended the heavens and earth. Even if he didn't use the life-shrinking technique, Devil Saint Fu Sha still couldn't see through it. After all, no matter how strong he was still far from transcending. Su Fong explained while trembling with fear, "Lord Devil Saint's eyes are as sharp as torches. This one is Man Tian of the Brute Devil Clan. Because I offended the Blood Devil Clan in the past." Unexpectedly, Devil Saint Fu Sha interrupted him and said domineeringly, "No matter who you offended in the past, as long as you sincerely submit to this Devil Saint, even if an ancestor devil descends, he can't do anything to you." Su Fong pretended to be surprised and delighted. "Thank you, Lord Devil Saint. This subordinate is willing to submit to you and go through water and tread on fire for you. Very good. This Devil Saint shall confer you as the 13th Devil King under my command. When the Tao Defiance Alliance's battle to destroy the human cultivators is about to begin, this Devil Saint shall bestow you with eternal immortality if you can make a contribution in battle." When the devil statue nodded, a devil light imprint jumped out from its eyes and entered Su Fong's divine aperture through his glabella. It fused with his primordial spirit. Obviously, it was a devil technique used to control Su Fong. Just like that, Su Fang became the 13th Devil King under Devil Saint Fu Sha and stayed on the Devil Saint Mountain. In the devil world of Fu Sha, the status of a Devil King was extraordinary. As soon as Su Fang joined the devil world of Fu Sha, he stayed on the Devil Saint Mountain and obtained a huge devil palace. He had 100 devil race experts who were equivalent to Dao integration cultivators as guards and more than a dozen beautiful human female cultivators as maids. The 13th Devil King? Devil Saint Fu Sha, you never dreamed that not only did I, Su Fang, come back from the dead, but I also came to your world. Su Fang smiled hideously from the depths of the Devil Palace's array formation. After staying in the devil world of Fu Sha, Su Fang began to think about how to get the Ancestor Devil Blood Plate. The Ancestor Devil Blood Plate's quality had been improved by Devil Saint Fu Sha and became the #1 primordial spirit magic treasure in the myriad of worlds. Su Fang had to get his hands on it no matter what. Even though Su Fang didn't fear Devil Saint Fu Sha now, he was still inside Devil Saint Fu Sha's world. Once Devil Saint Fu Sha was alarmed, the other Emperor Realm experts of the Dao Defiance Alliance, especially the Dao Defiance Alliance Master who was infinitely close to transcending, would come for him. At that time, it would be slightly troublesome to escape. Moreover, Su Fang wanted to continue hiding in the Dao Defiance Alliance and take back the magic treasures like the Heaven Supervisor Token and Prison Suppressing Codex. At the same time, he wanted to see where the Dao Defiance Alliance got their confidence from to actually plan to break through the Sky Curtain and destroy the Sky Beacon God World in one go. Even though the Dao Defiance Alliance had planted spies in the upper echelons of the Sky Beacon God World since a long time ago, these Dao Defiance who weren't even at the Emperor Realm couldn't break through the Sky Curtain that the Guardian had personally created even if they worked together from the inside. It was truly too difficult to take back the Ancestor Devil Blood Plate without alarming Devil Saint Fu Sha. Devil King Savage Heaven, I've arrived. Quickly come out and greet me. A furious roar resounded from outside the Devil Palace, causing the entire Devil Palace to tremble. The third-ranked Devil King, Blood Death Demon King, belongs to the Blood Devil clan of the Devil race. He's skilled in the most powerful blood curse divine ability of the Devil race. After being resurrected, the blood curse divine ability would become even more powerful and evil. He once used the blood curse divine ability to kill a human peak over god expert. In the depths of the Devil Palace, Su Fang sensed the Devil God who came with the 6 manifestations Devil King outside the palace, and information about this devil immediately appeared in his mind. Isn't this Blood Death Demon King in the depths of the Devil Saint Mountain, helping Devil Saint Fu Sha improve the quality of the Ancestor Devil Blood Plate? Why has he come out? He's just in time. If I want to get the Ancestor Devil Blood Plate, I'll have to rely on him. Su Fang revealed a sinister smile. With a thought, the barrier outside the Devil Palace automatically parted, and the palace doors opened wide. A devil god in a blood-red cloak strode into the Devil Palace accompanied by the 6 manifestations Devil King. Su Fang was already waiting on the throne in the main hall. He said indifferently, "Blood Death Demon King, why have you come to my Devil Palace instead of working for Master in the depths of the Devil Saint Mountain?" The Blood Death Demon King said coldly, "The matter of the Ancestor Devil Blood Plate is nearing its end. The 3 Devil Kings under Master can take turns to inject devil energy into the blood plate. I've come out of seclusion for you." The 6 manifestations Devil King shouted domineeringly, "Man Tian, the Blood Death Demon King has personally come. Let's see how arrogant you can be today." Su Fang activated the Devil Palace's formation and sealed off the main hall.